Yeah, but it was hidden with share.
There, you got it.
Right. Okay, now I'll share the screen. All right. And everybody please mute except for the jurors. All right, you guys want to introduce yourselves real fast? Sharon?
Me?
I'm Sharon McAllister. I'm the founder of Art Fest Fort Myers in Fort Myers, Florida, and I was the executive director for 21 years. I retired from that in September and remain on the board and have changed my focus to be all on diversity and inclusion, the future of art festivals in that way. I've probably watched 50 or better juries, conducted 21.
Okay. I'm
Barry.
Barry Bernstein. I've been doing art fairs for 35 years. I owned a gallery. I've done wholesale. I've done as a buyer and a seller. And I've been around for a long time.
All right. Bonnie?
Bonnie Blanford, art fairs for 43 years, totally making my living doing art fairs. I have run 3 different art fairs. I currently run one. I've done a ton of jurying. I love jurying. I am very opinionated, but I love jurying. I've been everywhere from Longs Park in Pennsylvania to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I believe strongly in the jury process. I believe strongly in having artist representation on all the juries. I think that's it.
Okay.
I'm very passionate, so beware.
Me too.
And I'm Larry Berman with about 40 years doing shows, selling my own photography. And since 2004, have worked with probably over 4,000 artists, photographing artwork or working with them on their jury images. So let's go to the first. Okay, primarily painting with oil and acrylic. My paintings are an expression of love for nature. I often create movement in the composition with simultaneous interaction through complementary colors. Jurors?
The first thing I'll say is that most juries prefer to see the entire booth versus just 2 panels.
That's not 2
There's
panels.
3.
Oh, you know what? You guys you're on top of. There's no hope.
Yeah,
Here.
mine's
Oh.
Oh.
yeah, mine's also
You
blocked.
can hide the
Okay,
speaker.
I've got it now.
Here.
Can I hide the jury panel?
Yes.
Yes. That's what I just did.
How did you change that? Because now mine is so I can't see anything but the booth. What did you just do to do that?
Oh, I just enlarged it. So Bonnie
Okay,
can see the
don't-
booth.
Don't enlarge it. Now I can't see anything.
Yeah, it was better before. There.
Okay.
There.
I want to, let's see. Okay, I think I can do this. All right, I'm good.
Click the minimize button, Barry.
Yeah, I did that. for that
Okay, my
panel.
first comment on the booth is it's lovely.
Anybody else?
Jurors?
I guess my comment would be on the images that I would be confused because there's this one that's more abstract, the third one from the left,
There's-
than the floral ones. And I think it would be less distracting and a more cohesive look for the jurors if that one that was on the left was at least kind of like the one on the right in size or square. I think people get confused with the change in, the
Horizontal.
abrupt change in dimension. They don't all need to be square, but this is a real abrupt change, that left one.
What if that left one was put in the third position?
Or
I
the,
put it in
I
the
don't think that would
fourth.
make a difference.
I don't know.
I-
I
okay.
think it's still to me, it's still disruptive.
I like the person's use of color and I like the floral ones. I do not like the abstracts. I don't think they fit with the other ones. And in terms of the booth, it's kind of all over the place. There's no pattern to it. There's something of everything. I particularly like to see a person's their own style, what they do. Is that showing? I can't really tell because it's so small. Let me see if I can get, oh, let me see, I can get this.
I can make it bigger, Barry.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, yeah, I think the booth is all over the place. In turn, at least, the biggest one is on the back wall, which is good because when you look in the booth, that's what you see first. I think the ones on the far left in towards the front, they could be, I would move those over there and take those two smaller ones that are in the back and, just trade places or have more dramatic pieces where you see it walking in.
Okay, if I may say something.
Sure.
Too many small pieces in frames on the left wall. If you're
Yeah.
going to do something like that, create a row, but underneath the bigger pieces.
Mhm.
Okay, let me reiterate again. I love this booth. This looks like someone's booth will look at the show.
Mhm.
I'm all about honesty in your booth images. And this looks like an honest booth shot to me.
Mhm.
I am not looking for perfection in a booth image. I'm looking
Yeah, right.
for what your booth is going to look like at the art fair.
All right. Let's go to the next one.
Can we?
Okay.
Okay.
What, Barry?
I was going to say, can we say whether we would accept it? It would be
No.
like.
No, it's not a
No.
competition.
No. Okay.
Okay, I have been glass fusing for many years, and it always starts with a sheet of plain glass. It may be colored or clear, but it could be cut, painted, sanded, sandblasted, and fused to get the end result. Most of the things I make now are painted with glass enamels onto a glass sheet. I have found out it is unlike regular painting. I start with the base color of my choice and add to it. It needs to be dried and then more enamel can be added. Some of my pieces are fused up to 5 times for the results I want.
Did you ask Larry when they applied or entered this, what category they were applying in?
Well, it's glass.
I know
Is
that
it?
from what he wrote. I know that.
Could be painting.
No,
Right.
well,
Try.
but
Yeah.
no, but
It's on glass.
Okay, it's glass. So I guess my first comment would be about the description. How, because there are some shows that won't read this much, right? Depends on what the
Right.
show's doing and
Right.
wording. But while you were reading, I'm like, knowing in my head, this is glass, that's what you said. But from the images, I'm like, is this glass? Is this painting? And so I think in this description, getting that really strong, faster upfront that this is glass.
Right, get the point across.
Get that, and you kind of get that when you start looking at the booth, but I think jurors could get distracted thinking, God, this is painting and it's in the wrong category. I mean, just because it's going quickly and you might get that impression. And for the festivals that don't read, we don't read glass, they might not ever get that point.
Except that they're applying in the glass category.
Yeah, right. But they think, oh, what's this doing here? I mean, various things they could think.
But you don't want to have the jury question what it is you're
Mhm.
doing.
Mhm.
You want them to be able to see it and understand it as best you can, or as best they can.
Quickly.
Quickly, thank you.
Barry,
One thing I really like on this one is the piece that jumps out at me the most is the very first
Mhm.
piece.
Mhm.
And I'm a firm believer in put your strongest piece first, because that's what's used by Zap as the thumbnails.
Mhm.
So you want it to be a nice, strong image.
Barry,
I know, I'm thinking about this. It doesn't bother me that it looks like painting on glass. That's actually kind of taking the medium to the next level, or at
Mhm.
least trying that, and I think that's fine. Um, uh, and I think it's technically well done. Um, I'm not sure. Here again, we're looking at four different shapes of the slides, or the images are uh, I don't know, that bothers me a little, but doesn't seem to bother anybody else. So
Well, it bothers me, Barry. I would look at that booth and figure out what the alternative pieces could be for the images. Because he lists lots of things in the booth that look like they would line up better.
yeah,
I agree. It bugs me too.
2. All right, next.
Hmm.
Natural light moments of Zen visual meditation photos. Tulips and iris shot digital with a macro lens. Intimacy by the suggestion only of a flower. Technique is unprocessed floating frame presentation.
Well, if you're going to show us 4 macro photos of flowers, then I don't really want to look at the booth image
Mhm.
and not see those featured prominently.
yeah, right.
Mhm. Like on that half wall, right?
Yeah. And I would deep six that rug, because okay, calm down. If
No,
if you look at that image, the first thing your eye is drawn to is not the beautiful artwork.
Mhm.
It's drawn to that blasted rug.
Yep. Yep.
My opinion.
I can ignore the rug, but right, these images and the stuff that's in the booth, is there enough of this? There's enough of the images in the booth? It seems like
Style.
it's all over the place. I'm gonna appeal to everybody by having all these different things. And I'm sure the person would argue that, well, I want to sell to everybody. Okay, but I don't particularly like that myself. And in terms of the images, they're really well done. I find it to be a cliche, but that's just me. I hold photographers to a higher standard, because anybody can take a photograph. Maybe not, and listen, don't, even after having said that, don't come down on me, because there's a technique that's, in the lighting and all that you have to get right. I realize that there's a high skill involved, but still, I'd like to see you take it to another, take this stuff to another level. It shouldn't just be gee, this is a really pretty photograph.
Mhm.
See, there's always one
It's
juror.
my opinion. That's only my opinion.
I think you can see that when you're sitting in an actual jury with photography all at one time. You can really see who what I call them. I can see who the photographers
Yeah.
are and
Yeah.
who the picture takers are.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
when you have a
agree.
whole bunch of it, it becomes very clear that these are, maybe this one I don't know, but these are photographers and these other people are just taking pictures. But
I
on
would
this
agree.
booth, I would definitely want to get this kind of artwork on that half wall in the back and on the very back wall. So it's really obvious that this is the primary work, and then do
Mhm.
something with the rest of them.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
it's a pretty booth.
It is.
We just need to change the work and get rid of the rug.
Mhm.
I know.
Picky, picky, Bonnie.
Oh, I am. I'll
hardly.
be the
Right?
first to tell you that.
She's being nice.
All right.
I'm trying to behave myself also.
Stone
job, Gary.
fossils, stone fossils, rocks, and minerals from around the world are upcycled into one of a kind lamp oil burning candles. Polished, drilled, and sealed candles are refillable with scents and come with all accessories. I'm not going to read the bottom statement.
I'll go first. This booth shot is problematic.
Perfect
That's-
work.
If your festival was good or show was going to accept if the rocks or something that fits in your categories and all that, great. But the booth shot is yeah, problematic.
I think the boot shot's horrible.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice, Barry.
I know, so I'll be the bad cop.
Well,
It looks like a flea market, the way
Exactly.
it's laid out. It could be well done, just like I'd take half the stuff out and I would, because if you have too many things, you can't see anything. You want to
Right.
highlight,
It looks like bigger than 10 by 10.
it does.
Like I first thought it was, before I saw the supports on the top of the tent, I first thought it was the workshop or the storeroom or something, a different place. And then I saw the top of the tent and realized it's actually a tent. But
it's shot indoors too, right? It's an indoor booth.
yeah, probably.
And shot at an angle. So
Mhm,
if it was a 10 by 10, you couldn't tell because of the angle.
mhm.
It's probably larger than that.
Well, I wish I could say something positive about the booth. I'm struggling here because I think many of us have been in this position when starting out,
Mhm.
that, I've seen over the years many booths like this, but I've also seen what it can be. So
Yeah.
Right.
hopefully, when it comes to the questions next week, hopefully we'll be able to give some advice to whoever's booth this is to help them make better display choices.
The individual pictures are good.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
All right. Next. Colorful imagery created by an assortment of advanced fused glass techniques. Artwork focuses on color and design meant to evoke a variety of emotions for the viewer.
Okay, let me start. The artwork focuses on color and design meant to evoke a variety of emotions for the viewer. Frankly, I don't care.
Here.
That is the least important thing for me as a juror to know. I need something that is going to reinforce what I'm seeing in the images.
Mhm.
Images are gorgeous. The booth is absolutely beautiful, but I would rethink the artist's statement.
I absolutely agree, Bonnie, that The artist statements are so important. And when we get these ones in that are focuses on this and evokes my emotions, and I'm inspired by the moon and the sun and the stars and my child and the beach or whatever, I don't care. I want to know how you made this work. I mean, right? I don't know that from this description. This could be, for all I know, from this, particularly that one on the right, there could be somebody that makes glass like this and you just cut it in a square and put it in this holder. I don't know anything about how you made this from this description. I would
Yeah.
also say that if this was a projected jury, that white would be a little jarring in a dark room on a 4x4 or so image.
I
Yeah, it's-
know there are different schools of thought with the white. I tend to be a fan of it,
Mhm,
especially as a show director,
mhm.
because it makes my life so easy when it comes to advertising.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, if you have someone that can devote their time and knows how to do it, to taking all the backgrounds out and so on, then maybe it's not an issue for your show. It is for my show, my little tiny show.
Well, as a total aside, Bonnie, subscribe to Canva, do your ads and stuff in it, and you can pull those backgrounds in a heartbeat.
Thank you.
To where? To
Canva, it's canva.com, canva.com. I think you have to take the pro version, which is $129, I think. It's free to not-for-profits. If your show's a not-for-profit, Bonnie, it'll be free. It'll pull those backgrounds in not even a second.
Jeez.
Did it change the
Thank you.
backgrounds?
Well, you could change it, right? If you pulled the background off, I mean, Larry does this in Photoshop, but you also in Canva. You pull the background off and now you want to put it on purple or whatever you want to put it on, you can put it on.
All right.
Sorry.
Wait, before we go on, I want to say something. You know, there's different types of shows, and this would work for a middle of the road show, and don't take
Mhm.
that wrong. I'm just saying it wouldn't be St. Louis or Cherry Creek or any of these. So it's a matter of when you're showing these things or when you're doing these things, it's a matter of where your target show is. And the higher end shows, I don't think this booth would work. And you'd want to do it a little differently, more of an art gallery look. Again, this is only my opinion. This is how I feel. So keep that in mind when we're looking, or not us, but the viewers, keep this in mind when you're doing your booth shot and all these things. Figure out where your goal is, where you want to get to. Do you want to be any of the thousands of shows that are out there, or do you want to be in the top 10 shows? And I'll tell you, it's hard to get into those top shows, and you don't get into all of them. In fact, you hardly get into any of them. Like if there's 10, I'm lucky if I get into 2 per year. So, but how I would display things would be, or my booth image and my pieces would be different for that than it would be for another type of show.
Okay.
Anybody agree with that or not?
Yep, absolutely.
Yes. One more thing. I would change image number 1 and image number 3. I think image number 3 is a stronger piece.
Oh yeah, you mean, yeah,
It
right.
should lead the parade.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Next.
Hand marbled clothing and accessories using the original method of marbling to produce unique wearable art and accessories.
I think Barry's comment that you just made
Yeah.
depends on the show. This set, right? So depending on where you're applying, I mean, I think as a presentation, fine, but I think it really depends on where you're applying.
Yeah, hey, I have a comment about that, just to back you, Sharon. If you wanted to do, if somebody that's watching this wanted to do, let's say, a better show, or get into a better show, go to the Des Moines, the lineup of artists that are in the Des Moines Art Fair this year. I think the work is fantastic.
Mhm.
I looked at all the images and I thought, wow, there isn't any loser in this group. I mean, they're all really great. So like, if you have in your category, go there. If you want to do the better shows, go there and see what your competition is on the
Mhm.
higher end.
They don't jury by category.
No, I know,
Right.
but
No, I know, but
the
a lot of
result of
artists don't know that.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that look at your category. You know, go that you can still look at all through all the things and say, oh, this is my competition to get in here.
I think that's true, Barry, no matter where you're applying, right?
Yeah.
Go look at, if you're considering
Yeah.
applying to Art Fest or to Coconut Grove or Howard Allen or wherever you're going, doesn't really matter. Go look at that show, because almost everybody now has an online gallery
Yeah,
where you can look at the artists
yeah,
and see if that show you kind of fit into that or not.
yeah. Good point, Sharon.
If you totally don't fit in, then don't bother applying.
Right, right.
You
Yeah,
know,
we'll take your application fee, but that's the wrong philosophy, right? I mean,
exactly.
that's not the right
Oh,
philosophy.
Yeah,
All
but you
right.
know what? Some of
Wait.
those people get in. You get in sometimes. So I would say, if you want to do that show, apply even if you don't fit in.
Well, you can't get in if you don't apply.
Right,
That's right.
That has been my mantra.
experience.
Okay, next. My acrylic paintings are grounded in my interpretation and experiences with nature and the structure of landscapes. Tension and contrast are created with color and texture using knife and brush application while exploring the interplay of light. Recent works are exploring the effort on light and texture while painting over metal leaf. My response to the environment sometimes leads to the abstract realm. It's too many repetitive words.
And it's too much if I'm inspired by the light and sun and whatever. Tell me how you painted it. That one sentence, you're using knife and brush application and the over metal leaf. I mean, that's starting to say, what do I do?
Yes. That's the important part. Sharon just hit on the important part of the artist statement. I don't care if these came when you were sitting under a tree and dreamed them.
Right.
That's not, as a juror, that is not my concern.
You're talking about the 100-word or the 200-word or the 300-word
Character.
thing. Yeah, if you read what they want, it'll tell you exactly what they want. And 99% of them say, tell us how you did this.
Right.
So that's what you write. That's what I write. I write my technique. You know, if it's 100 words, I try and kind of fit it into there. But I talk about how I do it. And I think that with none of this other, oh, I was inspired by, I don't know, I woke up one day and the sun was out. You know, that doesn't matter. Tell us how you did it.
Right.
Can I go back one, the clothing? What I want to know is if do they actually make the dresses, or do they buy blanks and just put the marbling on it? Too much of this is are you just putting, using it as a canvas, or are you, or does she actually do this, or do they actually make the object?
That's a very good point,
Good point.
especially when it comes to things like clothing or lampwork bead jewelry. If you are actually making the piece and not just decorating it, put that in your artist statement. did you make those lampwork beads? Put it in your statement, take credit. Because if it's not in your statement, my immediate thought, I'll go back and read it again, is they're not making the beads.
Okay,
Or they're not making the
All right.
dresses.
let's critique the presentation.
Okay, I love it.
Mhm. That's pretty good.
It's beautiful.
Barry?
Yeah, I like the work. I like how it's displayed, although I might take out a couple pieces, but other than that, it's good. You can see everything. There's no distractions. You know, there's no pattern carpeting. There's no bins. You know, it's just the work.
Yep, and that's what I want to see.
Me too.
Sharon?
And it's
Yep.
beautiful work.
Well done.
I think one question would be, again, it depends on the show, right? If this artist also sells
Morning,
work
Amanda.
Be frozen.
copies and out of a bin, depending on the show's rule, they would want to see the bin in this tent. But that depends on the show. That's a research thing.
I would always rather see the bin in the booth image.
To be discreet and all that, nice that we've had other commentary on, but if they're gonna do that, because there are shows that if you showed up and then had a bin would say out of here with the bin. Right? I mean, it depends on the show.
Listen, that's a good comment, question, issue. If they allow bins and you're gonna have a bin, the bin should be in there.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Next. I use a system of hand tools and techniques to blow clear molten glass with color inclusions into forms by specific reheating and cooling methods.
I'm confused by the artist statement.
Blown glass?
The statement tells us what it is. The work, it doesn't jump off the,
Well-
it doesn't impress me.
All of them, well, at least the first three can be cropped better for a stronger image.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, the different sizes, and the one on the left, it's sort of washed out because of the background. I'd have a different background.
Or a different piece.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
that too. And the booth again is indoors and we're judging outdoor shows, so
Well, we're judging what they present us.
right. Well, okay, right.
I think this booth shot could be improved by that work that's on the left side on those shelving things. To me, that part's stronger than the pieces that are on the back. I mean,
Yes.
it's hard to see all the way to the back to the smaller jars or whatever those are. If
Because of the
that stuff that
color.
was on the left was pulled around in front of that big drape. Something to get my focus better on the work, because right now I'm looking at the good news that they're spandex tablecloths, not draperies. That's good. But then about the backdrop, I'm having a hard time focusing on what's in this booth.
Yeah, well, it's an indoor booth next to a bunch of, there are a bunch of, that's what's it called, drayage?
Yeah,
It's
the backdrop, right,
typical.
but and so if you're gonna put an outdoor show, can we get this in a tent and everything? But even if it were in a tent, it's hard for me to focus on what's going on here with the pieces.
Yeah, if it was an outdoor show and it's a tent, it would have a different background. It wouldn't look like this.
Would
In fact,
help.
the whole thing would be different. The viewing of it would be different. We'd
Mhm.
see it differently.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have that strong backlighting on the left.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Oh, I wish I had some good advice on the booth. but I just, other than turning the U the other way, stick the artist in the middle and put the tables
Oh,
in a U, I don't know.
like you would walk
not-
up to the booth.
Yes. You're not doing the glass any service this way. I don't know if there's too much.
Well, but they're all small things, so you can fit a lot of stuff in there.
Well, that doesn't make for a good booth. You should know that, Barry.
No, I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that that's why.
Well, but this is,
I have my,
this is a good place to, a good way to show the work better would be have posters of the pieces.
Mm,
Yes.
Jewelry.
I would have less pieces. I want to make a comment about the work itself. This person's not pushing themselves. They're doing really safe things, and come on, push yourself, fail a little, make things that you can't make, that you don't think you can do, whatever that is, make them bigger, work on your forms, do that. That's what I'd like to see, that,
Okay, I have now read the artist statement 3 times, and it's making a little more sense to me on the third go around. But most times you don't have the time to go back and reread it. But may I say, I do love those tumblers.
But what if there were less of them, Bonnie, so that you could get it cropped tighter and make it square?
I'd like 3.
Yeah, so then you can get it to go with the flow of these images. And if everybody was cropped tighter, you wouldn't have all this gray in the background. You'd have like this black piece, you'd have the black piece in your face instead of faded into all that gray. And if you cut down to 3 tumblers, you could accomplish the same thing.
Yeah.
And whatever that one on the right has to do with anything, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it really doesn't fit.
I guess it goes within the display, that rack of ornament kind of stuff. I guess that's the relationship, but the red background, it just doesn't fit. I keep feeling like, who's this over here compared to these other ones?
I will give them props for showing an ornament when it looks like a third of their booth is ornaments.
Mhm,
They'll get, a big gold star from me for that.
mhm.
But that particular image doesn't work.
Well, the background needs to match the others.
Right.
what if the other ones had the orangey background?
Yeah.
Switch it up.
Oh,
Because I think the white doesn't work here. The white background.
I don't like the orangey.
Now,
Yeah, well, choose
But
choose a
that may-
different color.
Okay, but that may be very much a personal preference.
Yeah.
okay, next. I use,
oh, same artist, no?
yes,
Is it?
It is.
yeah. She's
Yeah.
trying 2 different sets of images with this one with an outdoor booth.
Ah,
Much improved.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, my goodness.
Even the pieces look better.
Yes.
The pieces do look better. Yeah. 'Cause you can
Yeah.
see them for one thing.
Well, that second one can be cropped better.
mhm. Everybody could be cropped a little better.
Yeah,
Oh, I can't believe the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, you know I have to say something about the striped rug.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
These
And
are,
unless it's, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
unless it's a show that's asking to see the tent, total the tent with the top and everything. I know there are shows like that. And to see those weights, unless you're doing that specifically because the show wants to see that. My suggestion is to not only get rid of the rug, but also get rid of the weights,
And put the canopy walls down,
put the canopy walls down and get
crop in. on
crop
top.
the bottom, crop the top, get rid of the top
Yep.
of this tent and then the grass, and so that you can take more space with the booth, because then you'll be
Yeah.
able to see the work better on that back wall, since it's small work
Yeah.
to start with.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Get in as close as possible to see all the work You know, there's a point where if you go too close to the booth, you're cutting off sections and too far back. I think this is too far back. You don't kind of see the detail and stuff. So getting closer would be, there's a point where, you know, you could work on that and figure out where that is. Or you could send the image to Larry
And fix it.
Larry will fix it for you. Sorry, Larry.
It's all right.
Yeah, okay, I would still leave the sides up the way they are,
Yeah.
but just crop in to get rid of the weights.
Yeah.
Take 'em
Well, you
off.
could have the weights, but have them on the outside. See, the weights are on the inside of the booth. You could put the weights on the outside if you had to do it that way. On the other
Yeah.
hand, you know, it's showing how the booth is, and I give props, I give credit to that because I want to see.
Yep.
I don't want to see a setup, even though this probably is a setup. This is how I'm assuming this is how this booth would look at a show.
And it
Well, it
looks
looks like it
very
was taken.
nice.
It looks like it was taken at a show.
Mhm.
Yes, that's what yes.
Yeah, and it looks nice.
Yes,
Crop it in a little and, yeah,
this is
no.
much better than the last one.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Now, they
All right.
just need to be able to take the outdoor booth and repurpose it for indoors.
We'll use it for both.
Yeah,
What do you think of the you know, the black table that sort of cuts off
That,
visually the rest of the booth? You think it would be better if it was on the side, like the one on, like the white one on the left? Does that bother
Probably.
anybody?
Probably, and it should be the same color tablecloth as the others.
the
Well,
other
isn't
thing
there-
is people get kind of scoochy about going into a tight place where they might get caught in your booth. Especially with glass, you know, bull in the china shop kind of
Yeah.
thinking.
Hey, Larry, could you make that booth shot a little bigger?
Bigger than this?
Yeah. From a selling point, because of the way it's set up in the back, there's a table in front of it. Is it? I would want to be able to get closer to that as a buyer, as opposed to, is it done this way because the person doesn't want people touching the pieces on those shelves? You know, 'cause
No,
the table's in front of it.
no, I think it's just extra display space. You've got to touch glass.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be hard to do that with that table in front of it. That's what
But
I'm
Well,
show
saying.
the
there's-
work better if you turn it around too.
Yeah,
Yeah, the tables can move over if the weights were swung around.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, next.
Interesting.
I design, weave, cut, and sew jackets, coats, and scarves. Color, texture, and shape are used to convey an idea. My current work features an edge technique, quilting, and pin tuck details added to hand-woven cloth. Scarf concepts use scraps from garment making in an effort to be sustainable.
Okay, absolutely beautiful booth.
I agree.
And she or he says that they design, weave, cut, and sew.
Yeah,
Yep.
So there is no question in your mind
exactly.
who is doing that work. The individual images show character and movement, and they're absolutely gorgeous.
And the big images in the back of the tent, I go with the work, plus they really show what she's selling, where it's harder to see that in the mannequin pieces, although I think the mannequins are great. You get to see the work on the walls of what she sells, and not mannequin, but the stand, that shows that well too. The left piece, the gray, I guess it's a coat, gives you a sense of scale. and the movement style. I mean, that these are beautiful. I'm pretty sure I know who this is, and her work is absolutely this.
Okay, disclaimer, I know who it is too.
Yeah, right.
And
Okay.
I have nothing
Let's
but
not
good
tell,
things to
let's
say.
not tell Barry.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's
No.
done by professional. There's a difference between this and the and some of the other ones that we've seen. And it's obvious, isn't it?
It's obvious.
Yes,
And and in case it's not obvious, she told you right in the very first sentence, I design it, I
Yes,
weave it, I cut it, I sew it.
Yes.
So you have no question, does she buy this fabric and make them? Or does she design it and offshore it? I mean, you get no question. She designs it, weaves it, cuts it, sews it, coats and scarves. Got
You
it.
know, and you bring up something about this. When you leave things out, you know, are they hiding? You know, in other words,
yes.
the dresses. Did she just buy you know, blanks and do the dyeing or the coloring on the outside? It seems like without saying that, well, maybe she's hiding that, or he is hiding that part. Whereas if the person said, yes, I cut and sew and put this clothing together and do the color work on it, you know, the dyeing or whatever it is, that, you know, that's not how that would answer that question. You know, I would want to know that.
I believe she also dyes, and so that might be a word she'd want to add here, but if this is who I think it is. And I think that this issue is particularly important in wearable and to some degree in jewelry, because of exactly what you said, Barry. Did I just buy the blank and print it, or did I buy the fabric and stitch it, or did I offshore it? I mean, because I think to me, it's a particular issue in wearable.
With a lot of work, a lot of different things.
Yeah, I just feel a little more about wearable than I'm more likely to believe that the sculptor made the work, or the ceramic artist, or I don't know why, but I think wearable lends itself to not being totally the artist. And so does jewelry, because you can buy, you know, you can buy and import, I think, easier than you can. But that's just my belief. So
It's correct. I do have to say something about the mannequin in the center of the booth. If somebody asked me if I should do that or not, I would say no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
This is the example of how it works.
Well, it's not blocking anything.
no.
No. And yeah, it's very interesting.
All right.
Yeah,
Next.
not blocking is important.
Yes.
Right.
And she
Okay.
has a nice balance of grass and lid on her roof. You know, you can still tell it's a tent, but it's not distracting you from too much lid and too much grass.
Yep.
Okay. Hollow formed and hand raised shapes, fold formed, hand fabricated, oxidized sterling, 18 and 22 karat gold, stainless steel cable, natural stones, hinges, clasps, and findings are artist made. My work is not cast.
Perfect. Okay, she's a friend of mine, but I would say that regardless.
You know, here's what bothers me. I have a light box, and I can shoot my work myself and on a background like this, but I'm not liking the white backgrounds when I'm looking at it. So that would require me to go to do either to take it to Larry and get it shot properly with a proper background, or do the, what'd you call it, flipping? Anyway,
Canva.
pulling the pieces off and put it on a more you know,
Clipping.
you know, like because the clothing, like the one previous to this one, that looked really great. I would like my work to be on that kind of background as opposed to this background. So
Hey,
you know,
good,
it's
Barry.
troubling
What's
because
the difference?
Huh?
Can we go back to the clothing a minute?
the one be
Was it?
Yes, this.
Oh,
It-
okay,
It
okay.
looks professional and it pops off and you see
Yes,
you see the 3D, I like this better
Yep.
than this.
And I tell you, in a projected room, I know there's not a lot of shows that do projected anymore, but in a projected room, this white is just blinding.
Yeah.
yeah, and I know that's an issue for those that project.
Yeah, and the goal is to get in the show. So you want the best images you can. You want your work displayed the best way you can to be able to have the best chance to get in.
Mhm.
In terms of the booth shot here, too minimal. I don't particularly like it.
It's her booth.
I know.
Jurors have a tough time because of the booth, because how do they get, they most particular ones who have their work in cases,
Yeah.
how do you get the view, right? Because you gotta be a drone or something. I mean, it's like, how do you,
Yeah.
Posters.
tough for them.
Very
Yeah.
true.
I know that's it's funny when we're looking at the booth shot, I'm seeing one thing, but if I bet I walked into their booth, I would like what I see,
Mhm, mhm.
you know,
Okay, next.
next.
I hand fabricate mixed metal and wood jewelry with techniques of forming, textures, patinas. They are hollow formed. I carve ebony and holly as a counterpoint to the metal. I make my own findings.
Beautiful.
Good artist statement, great
Beautiful.
images.
Yep. Very well done.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes in jewelry. You gotta be here. I mean, because the competition is so great.
That's right. There's more jewelers than anything. So if
Yep.
you really want to get in, you got to be really, everything's got to be top drawer.
You gotta be tight like this. Really
Mhm.
nice.
I would switch because I have to say something. I would switch the last image with the first image.
Mhm.
Really? You'd switch them up?
Now,
I like it. I like it the way it is.
Larry, you're
Yeah.
not a juror.
I think,
well,
no,
no,
wait a
the
minute.
one on the left draws your eye to the right.
I
the
think
one
that's the
on the right-
nicest piece.
Yeah.
I like the piece on the left. To me,
And-
that's the top piece, the
and
best piece.
brings you into the rest of the images.
Mhm. It shows
And
that
there-
that'll work.
And there's a continuity between all the work.
Yep,
It's this
yep.
person's
Yes.
style.
Yep.
You would know this work anywhere. If you were in Europe in a gallery, you saw this at a gallery, you'd say, "Oh, I know this person."
Mhm.
And that's, to me, that's a goal, at least with my work. When Bonnie said the other day, "Oh, I know what your work looks like," to me, that was a compliment
Mhm.
because that's one of my goals. I want my work to look like my work
Right.
and not like anybody else's.
Right. Beautiful.
I would like
Right.
to see, though, one of the absolutely pop off the page pieces as piece number 1.
Mm.
That's all.
Do you think it was shot at a different time because it's a little darker behind than the other ones, and maybe that's what you're seeing? It's a
That
little.
could be. It doesn't pop off.
Well, it doesn't have that green that pulls you, so.
Yeah,
But, she doesn't have all that work either. So,
yeah.
All right. Next. Luminous interactive live art, which has layered silk and pigments infused in acrylic. Custom lighting is provided with each piece.
This
What
is
is it?
where the booth image is priceless because it shows that they're not 3 inches.
mhm. That's the good news on the booth.
What is Luminescence interactive live art? What the hell does that mean?
That probably it moves when you walk past it.
Mm.
It's not talking about technique though, or how they did it. Can you make the booth shot bigger?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm looking at this on my laptop as opposed to my desktop. It was a major mistake on my part.
Well, the booth image isn't helping.
No, it needs a roof and canopy walls just for the picture.
Just to block out the back,
Right,
the
too many
interference
palms.
behind.
Right, too many palm trees.
Even if they don't use the canopy, which I can see why they wouldn't at a show, I think they need to walk a canopy over and put it over it for their booth image.
Or at least the walls.
That looks like a
Yes.
heavy duty display.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also looks like a 10 by 20. Does it look like
No.
a 10 by 10?
Yeah, it's just a tunnel effect from shooting with a wide angle too close.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What's the
Back to
material?
Canva, back to Canva. You can get rid of
Can
those
somebody
palm
tell me what the material is?
acrylic, I think it said.
Yeah. Layered silk and pigments infused in acrylic.
So is this a sculpture category? What is this?
I don't know. I mean, it
Mixed
could be-
media.
Well, yeah, it's
Mixed
mixed
media.
media
Mixed, I
because
guess
it's
it could
layered
be that.
silk.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
It could be. Could be a number of categories.
Mhm.
It's not good if we are discussing, like what category
Yeah, but
and
The
that kind of
first-
thing, because that's not what you want your jury thinking.
Mhm. I think this person, because of the nature of the work, this isn't our job, but to might be worth this person applying in 2 or 3 categories at the same show.
Yes,
See if they can get a feel for what difference that makes in the scoring, because maybe I score well in mixed. Maybe I score well in sculpture. I don't know. But cheap research.
What about,
yeah, good idea.
is it good to have 4 similar pieces, or forms, as opposed to, because in the booth fee, there's some rectangular pieces, different forms.
I don't think that matters.
Okay.
They probably picked the round pieces because they fill the space better. The
Yeah, I
square
get that.
format.
Yeah, I see that.
Except that if what you're showing is, like 1/3, 1/6 of the pieces are round and the rest are rectangular, I would rather see that represented in your individual images.
Yeah, it's a problem for this person. Like, do you show these? Do you show different forms together? Or I might tend to eliminate all the round pieces and do the other put the other pieces up.
Yeah, but the round pieces make a great jury set.
Yeah, they
I
do.
do.
Make it what? Great
A
jury.
great
What?
jury set.
Well, maybe if this person has multiple colors like this that are up here on the image pieces, maybe it would be helpful then if in the booth on the back wall, instead of that bottom piece, could be 2 other rounds.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean, I know that the ones they have there make a cohesive look too, coloration wise and all that,
yes, yes.
but maybe that would help Bonnie's point. If it's only a 6th or whatever you said round, how come I have all rounds at the top? Maybe if I had a couple more in the booth, I'd be, okay, I get it here. This person does this round collection, then they do this horizontal collection. I'm good with that. If I'm thinking about a juror, I'm good with that.
yeah, me too. Thank you.
Okay, next. Transparent watercolors with their brilliance and versatility Let me render realistic objects and experimental abstracts inspired by music, dance, and cosmic features in series, exploring this subject.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Could you tell me how you did the, I'm good with the transparent watercolor part and the
yeah.
versatility,
that's-
but then I'm getting like, yeah.
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 What artists don't seem to realize is that so many people write the same basic thing. They just might change a few words around. So
Take-
we've
Yeah.
heard it all before.
Again,
will- Oh, I will say that this rug does not bother me
I know,
as much as a lot of the others. Yeah.
that's really great. I was gonna say, the booth shot is great.
Yes.
You know, the verbiage is like, come on, you know,
Yeah.
tell me how it's made. That's, you know, read what they want. Read it slowly, read it 10 times if you have to, but it generally says, show us the technique. It shows how you do this. This is what they ask. Don't add this other stuff.
We didn't ask for your inspiration.
Yeah, who cares?
That's up to you.
Okay, wait a minute. But here, okay, here's a good example of this. Inspired by music, dance, what music? There's like, is it inspired by hip hop? Is it inspired by classical music? Is it inspired by jazz? So that doesn't mean anything. Dance, is it ballroom dancing? Is it jazz dancing? Is it ballet? You're not saying anything. You know, just tell us how it's done.
That
I
Barry,
would-
that was an excellent point.
Yeah, I would just
Because-
put, I'm sorry, Bonnie. Transparent
said-
watercolors showing movement.
Brilliant and versatile.
Celebrating movement.
Okay,
And to be really picky and probably not important and probably wouldn't affect your scores. But it'd be really nice if those two center ones were the same size.
Yes.
Yeah, good point. And I think it has that does have an effect on the viewer, which translates to a jury score.
Right.
You know, subtle things or little details really make the difference sometimes.
Yeah, if you're doing 10 seconds or so, depends on the jury, but a few seconds, it is amazing what things may or may not make a difference, but they do.
And do you know that red, the color red stops your eye?
Hmm.
So as you're jurying, if your piece has red in it, you may gain just a microsecond more of the juror's attention.
I didn't know that.
okay. On to the next. My basic philosophy is that a photograph isn't a photograph until it has gone through the process of being edited, printed, mounted, and or displayed in one's home or gallery. One has to feel, touch, smell, and image in lieu of being imprisoned in cyberspace. That said, I use the highest quality printer for canvas and metal images. In addition, all my images are printed on photo paper, Pro Luster or Moab by Rata Rag paper.
Beautiful images. I have a feeling a sign normally goes where the white thing is.
Yeah,
I would put in another photograph.
For the image.
Or take
and
it out.
also in that open doorway, I'd put another panel
Mhm.
for the picture.
I would eliminate the one on the right, the image on the right. I'd have a different image.
Really?
Yeah.
So this isn't where I should say I really like that one.
Yeah, no, you can, of course you can say that. Of course. Listen,
That could be your
you ever look at
favorite.
jury scores? There, you know, you get like 4 likes and then 1 totally rejects you. I
Right.
mean, that's
Yeah.
that's
The year at Krasl where people were getting 7 7 7s and a 1, and it was all the same juror that was
Yeah,
giving out 1s to everyone.
At least it comes out in the average that way, right? Doesn't affect the result.
Okay,
Hopefully.
but I can see the point of a different image for number 4 because you have rock formations for the other 3.
That's a very good point.
that might not be bad, but
But overall, you know,
Overall,
it's a good lineup of photographs or of images. And the booth is fine. I mean, yes, I'd like to fine tune it for someone,
yeah.
but it's so much better than so many booths.
And I would cut down on the words, on the on
Yeah,
your
Oh,
on the
yeah.
yeah, the artist statement. It's
Yeah, it's way too wordy.
and you can
I
say
don't
you
care
can-
that much.
Yeah, you can say some of this stuff without saying things like, he doesn't have to say my basic philosophy,
Mhm,
because we know it's your basic philosophy.
mhm.
And we know it's a photograph. A photograph isn't a photograph, it's still a photograph. So you don't need to say all that part. Talk about, being edited, printed, and mounted or displayed in one's home. Okay, yeah, you could say that. You could, I might leave out displayed in one's home. Just talk about what you do.
I don't feel the need to smell an image.
Mhm.
I know, I know. Yeah.
Or be imprisoned in cyberspace. That's my other, like,
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Huh?
Yeah,
What
this-
does that mean? That kind of thing.
this one's not too bad in the respect I'm going to say, because it's not too hard. That very last sentence, printed on photo paper, pro luster, or morab, however you say this other word, rag. When we're reading, those who read and the categories we read, is there some way to express that it's important, I guess, to the statement without using too many words that our readers can't pronounce?
I print
Or
my
that
own image.
people don't know what it means. I don't
Mm-hmm.
happen to know what Moab dry rag paper is or why I should care. I don't happen to know
Exactly.
that, but
I mean, I print my own images using the highest quality materials.
Yeah,
yeah,
because I assume that by saying photo paper pro luster or Moab by Rada rag paper, that they're using the highest quality paper. So just say I use the highest quality paper.
Right.
I believe you.
Mhm.
yeah. And I won't know the difference.
Me neither.
And-
And
and
in
you're
terms of, if
keeping-
you're gonna leave all these images, I would put the last one, I would switch them. I would put it inside,
Number 3.
number 3.
Yeah,
Okay, next. I totally enjoy the art, creativity, and blessing of photography. I started taking pictures at church about 20 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have,
That's all we need to know, Larry.
I know.
yeah, that's right, that's right. Okay, way too wordy. Just tell us what you do. The images are all over the place, and the booth, so there's no continuity.
Mhm.
We don't know this person's style. And the booth shot's horrendous. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
well, the booth shot, I hope it's somebody's very first
Mhm.
time doing an art fair
Yeah,
and that they learned a lot.
Yeah.
These are much more, how did Sharon put it earlier? They're photographs,
Yeah, it was picture taker.
picture taker.
yeah.
And there's probably a place for that. I mean, but
Yeah.
even
There is.
still, the display and all, and it's not, to me, it's not just about the jury. I mean, that's what we're talking about, is the jury. But it's not going to sell well like this either, as well as it could for price points that it could, if it was displayed.
It
Less of
depends
a
on
flea
where it
market.
is, it depends on where they're
Right.
showing,
Right.
because way back 100 years ago, when I got out of college, I actually got a job in retail, and I ran a bunch of different shoe stores. And one of the stores was like a low end stuff. And the way I still don't understand how this worked. When I displayed everything like it was one of a kind, like it was designer, $300 shoes, and even though it was only like maybe $25 shoes, and we sold a few, but my boss made me. He comes in. He got out a table, and we just piled the stuff in boxes up on tables, and it was like osmosis. It was like a magnet. People streamed in from all over and started buying the stuff. The point is that this look appeals to a certain kind of person, a certain kind of sales. So I'm seeing where, maybe a church sale or whatever she's doing, that might fit into this. But in terms of, if you want to do like a better art fair, you want to do an art fair that's good, that's not going to work at all.
Right.
So there is some places for things like this. I would never do that, but I wouldn't do those events myself. But so just to keep that in mind, that look appeals to a certain venue.
Okay, we're going to move on. Slate, natural stone tile, hand-cut glass, smalty, and other materials are adhered to lightweight board with powdered colorant mixed with thin set. All slate is repurposed from roofing and flooring.
That's nice.
Oh.
Well, that tells you what it is, kind of.
Is it just me, or does the work in the booth look different than the images?
I don't think it looks different. I think the booth and the work in the booth would look the same if the booth was lit properly.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're
Yeah,
seeing the same colors.
And it looks like the shapes in the booth, again, that one could pick some different images here to even up this variety of sizes. Because it looks like they make like the round one on the front panel and the square one on the back left look like they could be similar, just to improve the
The flow.
cohesion for my eyes on the flow of the sizes.
Yeah, the flow doesn't really work.
It's
Well,
jarring.
it's just that third piece,
Well, you could take that out, put something else, that would work too.
right? Put in another horizontal.
Or move it to spot number 1.
Yeah, I like that piece. I think that's the best piece.
It's a nice
The
piece.
strongest piece.
The triptych is nice.
Yes. I'd make that bigger.
You can't.
You can't.
No,
The only
I
way to
don't
make
mean,
that bigger
I don't
is
mean
make
us
it-
here. I mean,
Um,
when you're shooting it.
Hey, I'm gonna pause this for a second. I have to let one of the dogs out. Sorry. Pause. Where's the recording? I have no idea. Okay.
We'll just sit here and talk while you.
Okay.
We'll talk about Larry. So what are your overall feelings so far, jurors?
That every artist who applies to shows should watch this kind of activity. Mock juries and preview days when festivals who are projected have preview days. Because I just learned, every time we've done that, we do it every year, but the feedback we get from the artists who attend is always that they are so happy, whether they got input that helped them improve or whether they left saying, oh my God, I've got this because I look great. I mean, we have both extremes. But it's always amazing to me that we don't have standing room only. And we're in Florida where we've got artists, tons of artists.
Yeah.
I just always find that's amazing that they don't come watch.
Well, and you can get so much out of what the jurors say about other artists. It's not just about your own. Hopefully people today are picking up so much from what we say about other people
Mhm, mhm.
Okay, I'm back.
that
And
maybe.
even
they
if,
haven't
like, if
thought
we,
of.
in our preview jury, the day before when people can come watch, I mean, they could come watch during the jury too, but they tend not to. But the day we're talking, we talk then, we don't talk during jury, that watching other people's work, or even if we don't talk, just watching the images go by, then they can see what else is happening in their category and make their own conclusions. We do talk, but you wouldn't have to for some of them.
Yeah,
There's a big difference between the one person who I think it has the best, showed the best images, had the best statement and the best booth, and everybody else. And I
Mhm.
think that people should actually say to themselves, why is this so much better than
Mhm.
what I have? And that's, I think, what this is for,
Right.
so they can improve their presentation.
yes.
All right, can we go on to the next?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, this project is a series of 4 prints from a session of photographing clay cliffs in New Mexico. Each print is a combination of 2 images that results in a more complex, intriguing image. That you don't need any more than that.
Well, I
Comment?
think the images, if the person's art's their, excuse me, the person's art is their art, so that's what they're presenting, so it's well presented. My more comments would be about the booth. It was taken as show too, obviously. But the whole cropping of it, get rid of the chair. The left space is like, we sold the work that's on the left, apparently. Lower left, I
Yeah,
guess.
because it's blank.
Yeah, I'm just assuming.
And the
So
banner is sticking out from
the banner's
inside.
there. I'm not quite sure if I was looking at this as a juror, what's up with the horizontal landscape bright color one in the middle of the
Right.
back? Because the images are all of this overlaid clay cliff thing. But which could be great if you like, but that's not quite what I'm seeing going on in the booth here, particularly that lower one in the middle of the back.
Yeah, the booth does not speak to the individual images.
Mm-mm.
And the booth, frankly, just needs some cleaning up. I
Mhm.
mean, the chair doesn't bother me, but it should be cropped closer and then the chair would be a non-entity.
Mhm.
But take the stuff off the stand, because
Mhm.
I am real big on loading up that stand in the middle of a show. As far as, I've got more crap sitting on it. But if you're going to take a booth shot, just sweep it underneath. You can put it all back out after the booth shot.
Move it over and put it in front of your neighbor for a minute and take the shot,
There
or at
you
the end
go.
of the day.
Yeah,
And for sure get rid of the banner and probably get rid of the awning, and the roll up in the middle.
and the blue chair draws your eye.
Mhm.
Well, it accentuates then the colored piece in back.
The back, right?
Yeah,
Ties.
but I think you'd get that anyway without the chair.
Mhm.
Yeah, you would.
All right, should we go on?
Yeah,
All right, textured sterling and 22 karat gold hollow forms with the occasional stone or pearl.
Well, I will make the comment that the images on the booth shot look fake.
The ones in the back, the
Yes,
one on the wall.
yeah,
Hmm.
What do you mean by fake?
it looks like they were dropped in.
Added on.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Comments?
if you're gonna do that, make them bigger.
Yeah, make them bigger.
Yep.
Well, she's only saying that because it's her work.
Is that true, Bonnie? Is it your?
Yeah, it is mine. And please
That's
notice that there are 2 chairs in my booth.
There are
I-
2 what? Oh, yes.
I always leave my chairs in my booth. I want you to know this was taken in Ann Arbor.
But there's no canopy top.
No,
And I think some shows would care and some wouldn't. You know, they might want to see it.
Yeah.
Speaking just for Art Fest, this would not be problematic for us. It may certainly be problematic for someone else. I think that really is to the point where artists need to read the instructions carefully and or talk to the show.
I agree. There's been a move, a very definite move to show more of the canopy. When this one was taken, that wasn't the case.
Mhm.
All right.
Well,
I would
I
ask,
expected some ding in here, guys.
so on your images, right? Your jewelry is absolutely stunning, Bonnie, but I've
Thank
not
you.
seen your images before. The necklace on the right,
Yes,
it could be, that image could be cropped, could it not, to be the same size as the image on
Yes.
the left?
Yes.
So I think it would be stronger if the left and the right were the same. There's a lot more, the same crop. There's a lot more background on the one on the right.
that's interesting. They should be the same size.
They might be the same. I don't think so, because I think the one on the left is shorter top to bottom, but it's also has more gray on the sides, whereas you could crop it and not lose the fact that you have the chain, which I assume is yours too, but so even up on the side, they're both oval. I mean, I just think it would balance better because, like, you know, jewelry's miserable for competition. So,
Oh, it's
Um,
terrible.
but other than that, I would have no comment on them being stunning.
Yeah. Do you have earrings that have gold in them?
I'm sorry, Larry?
Do you have earrings that have gold in them? Because visually that the color is missing from the second
Hmm.
picture.
It is, but because I do some things that are all silver,
Okay.
felt I needed
Mhm.
to address that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay.
And this is kind of the overview. The earrings are one of my more inexpensive things,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and the other pieces are higher end,
Yeah,
mid-level and then higher end.
Mhm. And it's nice that you show that you have that, right? I mean, that you have that range. And it's not one of the things I think really kills jewelers is they may have this beautiful display like this beautiful group up here. And then when you see the booth image, it's got a whole bunch of cards with earrings and crap.
Right.
Right.
It's
That's their low end, not the others.
It's always
I
been
obviously you
important
have
to
that.
me to show more of the range,
Mhm.
just
Yeah,
trying to keep
beautiful.
it honest. Now, what do you think of the artist statement?
well, you probably have some more letters that so you might want to say a little more about, you know.
How about
But,
dot, dot,
it's-
dot?
Yeah.
It's exact, it's exact and to the point, and you don't waste words, which is good.
I guess the one question I would have, maybe some jurors would have, is the chain, the whatever's holding the neck ones,
Yes,
is that yours or is that?
no,
purchased and added, right, which is perfectly fine too. I know there were some shows that might ask that. We would not, but there's probably some shows that would ask that.
Yes, these
Um,
are purchase chains on these particular pieces.
You're not actually saying how you make the pieces. I think you're assuming that people know how you make them because you left that out.
Oh,
Hmm,
yeah.
good point,
So, you know,
good point.
Yeah, see,
Yeah, do
You
you,
can
do you
always-
sculpt that? Do you sculpt that? How do you make that?
it's all sheet formed. They're all, I make a little box.
But
out of
but
sheet.
like the detail in the one on the left on the top, that rose or whatever that detail is on the top, do you like carve that in on your sheet, or do you cut, or do you have
No.
different kinds of sheets that you cut and then combine?
It is roller printed. And sometimes I will cut out the texture myself, X-Acto
Mhm.
knife in a
Mhm,
manila folder. And sometimes I will use found objects, all kinds of different
mhm.
things. I will try to texture anything. Eggshells
so,
work really well.
so
That's probably worth saying.
if you use the term fabricated, are these fabricated?
Yes,
Would that cover, that would cover the, all
it
that?
would. It would
Okay.
be much better.
Mhm.
Okay, this is the point of this whole thing. I have been doing this frickin' forever. I have juried forever. And my artist statement needs work. So thank you.
Halfway through, or I guess we're halfway through, or almost halfway through. I'm thinking, I tried something with St. Louis, and and I'm prepared to get rejected because the comments about something I did. I added a photo of a bunch of pieces together,
Mm.
and from my booth, which did not look like my images. So it was like the fourth image is going to be a group of pieces on a light background. And I'm going, all right, I'm out, just based on that. And I think I also, I'm going to have to check my booth image to see if my chair is in the middle, and that would be a big distraction. So I'm going to have to
All
get some
right.
of this done. So I've
Okay.
already learned something myself.
Okay, next. A child of immigrant parents who left war-torn Holland. Okay, this body of work has emerged over, I use textiles and metal to create color fields, stitch to create line, warp and weft to create texture, and found objects, including stone and branch, to create a new narrative. That's
Okay, beautiful booth shot. Clean, crisp, well laid out booth. The work looks really nice. The only gripe I would have would be the artist statement.
Mhm.
I would cut out everything in terms of the statement until I would start with, I use textile and metal to create color fields or whatever.
right.
Yes.
I would cut that down because I don't care if are we supposed to feel sorry for you that you've struggled and you're an immigrant. So now you're a child of immigrant parents. I think we're all children of immigrant parents. And so we don't need to hear that.
You're not
Yeah,
doing
the last
yourself.
sentence too.
Right. Yes.
Just that middle sentence is what is
Right.
important.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what you say, and you don't say any of the rest. A lot of times less is more.
And you could
Yes.
probably cut on the third line from the bottom to create a new narrative. Stop at branch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Okay,
Hey, Sharon, I want to make a comment about something that I noticed in Florida this year. And maybe it was always this way, but I never noticed it before. I don't think that any shows has to go looking for diversity, because the shows I did in Florida had an incredible amount of diversity. People from different places
Mhm.
that, were, that came here, and a lot of different work. And if anything, we're all, we're a diverse group. And I'm really big on blind juries,
Mhm. Mhm.
blind images. I don't
Mhm.
care, don't show me, don't tell me where you're from or who
Right,
you are or
right.
whatever, um, I think it just comes out naturally. And that really showed in Florida. There were people from everywhere. They live here now, but they're
Mhm.
from, South America, China, Europe,
The
Iran,
artist or the audience,
the
Barry?
artists, the artists. Well, the audience too, but I'm
Mhm.
talking about, oh, when you said diversity, you mean you're trying to get the audience to be diverse? To come
Both,
to the
but it would
show?
apply to everything. It would apply to everything.
I think naturally the artists, it shows up at better shows.
Mhm.
Like, and maybe I never noticed it before, but boy, it was amazing. Like, the artists
Mhm.
were from everywhere. It was great.
Mhm. Yeah, it's getting a lot better, getting a lot better. I was at Gasparilla and it was really obvious there.
Yeah, I actually meant gas. I was talking about gas. I was it was Gasparilla that I was thinking of, that
Mhm. It was quite good at Gasparilla.
yeah.
All right, next. Hand-woven modern-day armor for everyday battles using stainless steel, copper, and titanium. Pieces are accented with anodized titanium, semi-precious stones, and flame-painted copper.
Hmm. This would be
Bonnie,
an
what do you think of
example
the
in the
work?
booth shot of what I said to Bonnie just a minute ago about jewelry. Because these top images look like independent, strong pieces. If I mean, you can vote however you want on these top ones, but they look one way. The booth looks very different. Those cards on the left that have the earrings or whatever they are on them,
Mhm.
and the small bracelet stands, and not much of this larger necklace stuff.
It's on the busts.
I know, I see it there. That goes back to depending on the show, right? And what you're competing against, and knowing the show you're applying to and all that.
If you're showing 3 statement necklace pieces,
Mhm.
then I would expect to see more than 2 in the
Mhm.
booth.
Right. That's just, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah,
And whatever the dress thing is on the mannequin over here.
yeah. Not sure that works.
Yeah, the mannequin has a belt and a necklace.
Mhm.
If you're going to do it like this with a half circle like that, I would do it. Is that concave? Or I would do it the other way, where it would be,
Coming out.
curve. Yeah, coming out, because you have a greater handle on theft if you're standing behind
Mhm.
it in that middle space.
Well,
But for
there
the
are
sake of jury, I
60,
don't know that it matters.
there are 60 zillion different ways to do your
Mhm.
Yeah.
jewelry booth.
Yeah,
I have yet to find the perfect way.
yeah,
And everybody needs something different.
yeah.
I think it's more to the point of what Bonnie called the statement pieces. Where's the statement pieces? Because that's what we're jurying on apparently up here on the top images.
And I think those images have just been dropped into the booth, kind of like on
Mhm.
mine.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
It really bugs me when you can tell.
Yeah.
I don't know. They've got good shadows.
That's true.
Did you put them in?
Who, me?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Oh, he put mine in.
He's
so-
not saying.
No, I mean, I shot this booth here next to my house and I photographed for jewelry.
Mhm.
Well, the jewelry photographs are very nice.
It's just all those earring cards and the inconsistency here is a little,
Yeah.
depends on the show.
All right, next. What pushes me is photographing from places few dare to go. The highest peaks which offer indescribable beauty at first light. These moments bring a sense of awe not easily found elsewhere. My photography captures these fleeting, sublime moments and brings them back to inspire others.
There again, this person's talking about what inspires them as opposed to technique. So I would change that.
Well, I don't want them to say, well, I shot them with this camera and printed them on this printer and that kind of thing. But
Okay.
Barry, I agree.
Mhm.
How do you, okay, so how do you describe photography without talking about those
Well-
technical things?
No
Well, this-
idea.
Well, no, this photography is actually easier to describe because he climbs these mountains and photographs at sunrise.
Yeah, because alternatively, right, that's an important point, Larry. So alternatively, he could have, or she could have flown over it with a helicopter or
Yes.
had a big drone or I don't know,
A
something.
drone, yeah. drone.
But it is interesting that they climbed this to get this at what
Hmm, Good point.
dawn or whatever he says here. So one could say something about that without being quite so blah, blah, blah about it. My other question is about the booth. Do you think this is for real, Larry, or do you think it was an empty booth that had the photographs put on the walls?
I think it's for real because I know how he did it.
Okay. Because sometimes this kind of look is actually built in Photoshop. And I think it's distracting to jurors when they might question it. Is this actually what the guy's booth looks
Yeah,
like?
I
or
mean,
is
it's
this
not,
just-
it's not something I only came across this when he applied the other day. But I know how the booth picture was, you
Mhm,
know, he worked with a photographer that is also a show director.
mhm.
Hey, Sharon, you bring up a point. Should jurors assume that it's it's kosher and not like what you're suggesting, that maybe it's an empty booth and they put the pieces in there? Should jurors assume that it's done correctly or with integrity?
I think so. I think they should assume that. Part of our instructions are that, not to that point, but they should assume that all is of integrity, both the work being done by the artist and the shots and everything. Unless they have reason to know otherwise,
Mhm.
actually know, right?
Okay.
Not be
Yeah.
suspicious, but actually, because off and on, someone does actually know. In which case we ask them to just write that down on a piece of paper and we will deal with it later as the show, because it's really not a jury question. It's a honesty in porting, that kind of question. That's got nothing to do with the jury. But we get very few of those comments because they tend to not know. We tend to be the ones who know.
Mhm.
Pretty though.
All right, next. The glass is scored, broken, then ground to fit exactly to each surrounding piece. Next, each piece is wrapped with copper foil, burnished, then soldered, framed, flipped, and soldered on back. After washing, it is polished, fused and blown glass are incorporated.
Well, that's a good statement of how it's done.
Yes.
And they do it.
Yeah, could you blow up the booth shot?
Yeah.
To me, it just looks like a bunch of
Mhm.
color.
It's
Huh,
problems with
interesting.
the booth. The background.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And now in this case, it's not in a tent, and you really want to block off the walls behind and the sides because there's so much action, there's so much color that it just kind of like, what am I looking at kind of thing. And it would be so much better, so much easier to see if you had the walls in the back and the side.
Right, right.
Yeah, this booth image is kind of painful.
Mhm. 'Cause I think it's mostly because of the background, whatever that is back there.
Yeah,
The mountains.
I don't know, sand. I don't know what that is back there. but it's in
Cherry
the back-
blossoms.
flowering trees.
Oh,
Yeah.
cherry blossom, that could be.
It looks
Yeah.
like cherry blossoms. But that's not what we should be discussing, which is the whole
Why
point.
not?
But that-
Right,
That is the point. The fact that a juror is going to be looking at this. And
Yeah.
you don't want them wondering what the tree is or
Right.
what the background is. You want
Right.
them focused on the booth itself.
right.
The individual images look good.
Yeah, they're shot well.
Mhm, mhm.
You can tell that it's stained glass, and
Yep.
then you get this, see what they do, how they do it.
And they relate to the tent. I mean, you can see the images above or in the tent or in the
Mhm,
image.
mhm.
But yeah, the cherry blossoms are problematic.
Yeah.
All right, next. I strive to show the essence of a scene, not an exact replica. Digitally modified from an original photograph, archival pigment ink on fine art paper, hand printed, double matted, and 100% cotton mats, with 100% cotton mats.
Well, first I have to comment on the fact that all the pieces are either horizontal or vertical. And the artist chose to use all verticals, and it really looks nice. Love the booth setup. I have seen it before behind someone's head. So this is not my first time seeing it, but I've said the same thing from the beginning. It's
Mhm.
a very well done booth.
Hold on.
I agree with that. And I think that, the three vertical pieces on the board right in front, that's what you want. That'll catch your eye and it'll bring you into the booth.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, you know exactly what's going on with this artist, right? You know
Yeah.
exactly what they're,
And it's
exactly. You don't have
clean.
any questions about the work or the booth or that it goes together, that there's no, this is like score and move on, it's which is a good thing.
Right, exactly, yes.
And I like the artist statement. And boy, I don't say that often.
All right.
With
Next.
this, wait a minute,
Wait.
one thing, if you're
Go
gonna
ahead.
say I strive to show the essence of a scene and not, I would put that as the last statement. I would start with digitally modified, and then, oh, by the way, at the end,
Mhm. That's probably true.
Well, that's
Okay.
actually, yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Okay.
because remember, it's about technique. It's really asking about technique. And yet you might have a juror that has no idea what they're looking at. So you want to give them a clue as to what you're actually doing. And isn't that the purpose of telling people what you're doing?
So that the juror is not thinking, is this photography out of focus?
Yeah.
Right? It's not out of focus, right?
Or
This is on
whatever,
purpose.
yeah, whatever the misinformation would be.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
All right. All of our original designs are hand fabricated utilizing traditional metal smithing techniques. Soldering, bezel making, piercing, polishing, stone setting. Gemstones, fossils, and pearls are set in sterling and 14-karat gold.
Well, nice booth display.
I'd like the booth shut to be closer in.
Yeah,
Yep, and bright
Okay.
white canopy roof.
yeah, right, yes.
The image number 3
Yeah,
is a little dark. But
and
it, you know, the first one is the lightest, then the next one goes from light to a little darker, then darker to a little light, and then light to a little dark.
yeah,
That's interesting. So there was actually thought put into how they laid them out. But I think it's hard to see, and the bracelet looks beautiful. You know, I would like it to be able to be seen clearer, more clearly.
I think, yeah, I think the bracelet's too cropped. It's, you know, there's not enough space at the top and the bottom, just a little more.
Yeah,
Give it another inch or whatever. Because the
And-
other ones are nicely spaced in the image.
number
Plus-
2 could be cropped at the bottom.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay,
there's no
plus-
reason to throw off your eye on the vertical here. You could get this to line up with the others.
And here's the thing, if this person uses different gems, you know, at least make one of them with a different, you know, I see how this is cohesive, how it works all together using the same gems, but maybe one of them could have a different gem in it as opposed to the same one.
I have to say that it kind of bugs me that they're all watermelon tourmaline.
Yeah, I
Because
think
I
that's what I
don't,
just said.
yeah. I don't think anyone would do an entire booth of nothing but that stone, as much as I'd like to, because it's beautiful. I'd rather see a little diversity in the stones.
Yeah,
Overall, not bad at
Not bad,
all.
though. Not bad.
All right, next. The glass is scored, broken, then ground to fit exactly to each surrounding piece. Next, each piece is wrapped with copper foil, burnished, and then soldered, framed, flipped, and soldered on the back. After washing, it is polished. Fused and blown glass are incorporated.
So this
What a
is
difference it
second-
both makes, right? Because it's the same person.
Yep,
Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the description's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
exactly. Yeah,
and the booth looks better.
Mhm.
much better.
No cherry trees.
Pull back the curtain.
Except I would have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 less pieces. I think less is more. I think the problem with people, exhibitors, they think they need like extra, they need way more work than they have out there. And I found that to be confusing. There's a point where you have too much work out.
Well, in
Oh.
I
this
think for the
case,
sake.
they have framework
Mhm.
that gives them 6 panels in
Mhm.
back. And so I like the fact that they put something in each of the different panels.
I was gonna say that similar, Bonnie, that this is a jury image, not a selling image necessarily. So it's nice and even because the framework's there and it doesn't look like something's missing. maybe if I was talking about a selling booth, the top, middle, and the back would have some cool sign about them. I don't know, but you can't do that in a jury slide, so. This is far superior to the other one.
Yes,
Okay,
the work images are very nice.
Up there.
Mhm.
okay. Images are taken with a digital camera and then finalized in various computer software. I render my images both in color and black and white, depending on the subject. These are then printed on metal.
I think the images are great and they're really well spaced and sized and everything. My question's about the booth. I mean, it represents the work that's in the images, but this is that issue, isn't it, Larry, with the wide angle lens that makes this look like a 20-foot deep tent?
Yeah, but not as bad as others I've seen.
Yeah.
But
And
I don't,
go
I
ahead.
don't
Barbara.
like the fisheye.
No.
I don't know, is it called fisheye?
Well,
but
yeah,
I don't-
that's the fisheye effect.
I
Yeah.
don't like this view of a booth because frankly, it's not what it's gonna look like at a show.
And I think it's distracting to the jurors. I think it's like,
Yeah.
how come this is so
Weird.
deep? It's jarring compared to, yeah, weird. It's
Okay.
jarring compared to the 10 by 10, obviously, right? So what shows have deep booths? Maybe somebody does, but it's jarring to the images.
I don't like the fact that the two front pieces on either wall are cut off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Other than that,
What's the blue on the
oh,
right hand? No, 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 no,
on the
no.
image,
Individual,
Oh.
individual images,
all the way
okay,
to the left.
all the way to the left.
That's added a little color into the black and white.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Probably blue sky through clouds.
artistic choice, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks neat.
Looks great. Just need to fix the booth image.
Yep.
I might be the one that doesn't quite like this work versus the rest of you. To me, it's too commercial looking. It's borderline. You know, after you see a lot of photography, you start seeing this, you know, there's no, what's the statements? It's just nice pictures.
That'll come out in the jury scores, though.
Just my feeling.
The presentation looks good, but I think I find that those kinds of things that comes out in the scoring. Been my experience.
Mhm.
I would agree.
All right, next. Fabrication with metal, hand carved in sterling silver and gold with gemstones, textured finish.
Well, I like the work. It's different
And it's cohesive.
and it's cohesive.
Mhm.
I like the booth. If I had to guess, the person is young because they tend to
Uh-huh.
do really nice, more spare booth presentations for jewelry. Yeah,
It all goes with itself, right? The design of the booth goes with the jewelry.
it
Yeah.
does.
You know, it's not all Victorianed up or something, you know, some other look and going with this jewelry. This jewelry calls for what's in that booth.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's nice having open under the tables.
Mhm.
I want to know where all the crap is.
Yeah, and that's a positive.
Yes,
This is a good example of taking the medium to at least trying to take it to a new level or trying something different. And it pretty much succeeds, even though it might be like the start of something. I like the ideas. I like what's going on here.
Mhm,
yeah, me too.
mhm.
Well done, whoever you are.
Well done.
Okay, next. Metalsmithing techniques applied to silver to connect us to patterns and rhythms in our natural world.
Hmm.
I would rework that, the words there. I would start again. Just tell us what you're doing.
You know, I like the idea of the booth. Oh, geez. Again,
Mhm.
somebody who's young and has some imagination isn't stuck on cases and so on.
Mhm.
But I guess I would like to see them lose the table and put more things on that wall
Mhm.
and keep it cohesive, because the table is old and the rest of the booth is new and fresh. The jewelry is, where did he go? The jewelry's very simple designs, very cohesive, if that's what all the work looks like.
Mhm. That's gonna be my question on the booth. Is I can't tell without a lot of looking at this booth, whether it's all like this, or do we start getting some little stuff? Obviously not earring cards, but do we start getting some little stuff here that doesn't go with the big images?
Yeah. Larry, make it bigger so we can look. Yeah.
Like on the left.
I'm noticing in a lot of these booth shots that well, there's 3 walls. So 2 of the walls have they're cohesive, and then there's like something completely different
Mhm.
in the third, on the third wall. And like, yeah, right. I would get rid of that table and do like you could have things, like they did on the other
Like on the
side,
left.
and
Mhm.
display it like that. And I think that would look really good.
Or a
Mhm.
couple of posters, especially where the doorway is.
Mhm.
Well, it's expensive real estate.
Mhm.
So if you're gonna have it, use it for the jewelry.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think that would look really nice if the right-hand wall mimicked the left-hand wall.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then you would get more feel for this is all the same level work. I don't have a bunch of earring cards hanging out over here on this table, or what's happening on this table. It's just raising a question, and jurors, because before the competition's so tough, the jurors can't afford to have questions,
none.
It's
Mhm.
just, it's brutal.
All right, next. I create jewelry inspired by the natural beauty of stones. Many of the stones are self-collected in Wisconsin and Michigan, then cut, shaped, and polished before I weave a setting from wire. My vision is to complement or contrast the stone without allowing the wire to become the primary focus.
Well, the wire is kind of the primary focus. That's not that that's a bad thing, but
Well, that's coming from another jeweler.
yes,
Oh, that's okay. If you're a good weaver of wire, that's the thing too. I mean,
That's- yeah,
Yeah.
It's part of the sculpture.
yeah, that's not a bad thing.
You can't, dismiss that. I'm talking about the maker. It's part of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't use that last sentence because it diminishes, that last sentence diminishes the value of the good weaving of the wire.
Mhm.
Right, because that's stronger than the stones
Right.
in most of the pieces.
Mhm.
I mean,
Now in the booth,
stones are stones.
yeah, exactly. In the booth shot, do you like the pictures, all those pictures, like where they are? Because that's, to me, that's distract. You're looking at that, you're not looking at the work, and that's not good. I think you should be
They've been
looking at
stuck
the.
on.
Mhm.
Those are just
Velcro.
added to the booth image.
Mhm.
You think?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, don't do that.
No,
No,
when you say stuck on, those were there when the picture was taken.
Mhm.
those what, Larry?
The posters on, the 5 posters down below were there when the picture was taken.
You're kidding.
No, you could see the curvature in the,
On the
Yeah.
right hand.
And the one on the right one.
And they look like they're tacked on.
yeah,
And they're not straight.
That's right.
well, that
That's
shows
driving me
you.
nuts.
Which is also a distraction.
You don't want me thinking about the pictures not being straight. You want me to look at the booth and say, oh, that's lovely.
Problem is the cases go up too high to put pictures on the back walls.
Mhm.
I don't care for the booth.
Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly.
But I'm
But
not
they-
sure what to suggest for it either.
No,
Well, you can make it better by rearranging it, putting it in a different pattern.
Use all
Yeah.
3 walls or something.
You have 5, so they have 5 pedestals. You could, if you're gonna use that setup, experiment with different configurations.
yeah, that's a
It's
good,
like,
good
I don't
advice.
know what's good, but I'll know it when I see it, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. But please do not put pictures on the front of those pants. You can put them on for during the show. But as far as,
Okay.
well, of course, that just breaks all of my rules because I want the booth to look like it will at the show. But in this particular case, let's break some rules because I would rather see it without the pictures. They're too distracting.
Yeah, well, all our rules, all the things we're talking about, it also comes with it depends, you know.
Yes,
It depends. I mean, it's pretty much the case, but there might be cases where just the opposite actually works.
yeah,
So maybe on the pictures, I'm not sure how I feel about this on the pictures, but to the point of being distracting, if those pictures were on if those pieces of jewelry were on a nice gradient gray background, so that they looked like they were part of the pedestal, rather than Bonnie's view, but this is just inserted on that white background, maybe that would be more cohesive and a look that if one wanted the pictures, that would be a more better look.
I always question the point of putting pictures on the pedestals because it's
Yeah.
blocked by the first person.
Right,
that comes in the
right.
booth.
But
I
that's
think,
back to
Sharon, that's-
selling versus jury.
Sharon, I think that's something that the artist should try. As far
Because
as,
even their pictures up here, at the other images, at least they're on a kind of gray gradient, not white. That would probably be better, but that work could be pulled off the background and put on something that goes well with the pedestals, assuming you want to have the pictures there at all. At least that wouldn't be jarring.
I think if somebody comes into the booth and is looking down at the pictures and not the work, I think you should take the pictures off. The other thing is, I think if you have the pictures, you have to have those pieces because somebody's going to say, oh, I really like that one. Where's that one? And then, oh, I don't have that one.
Right.
So,
The other thing is if this showed a third wall, there would be a place to put the posters.
Mhm.
yes. Or a couple of them on each side.
Right.
I have to say, the photography on the individual items is beautiful as far, sorry, as far as being able to see the detail in the wire work. Really, really nice.
So they'll probably get higher score on that. And then the booth is going to drag the score down.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, next. I create textural sculptural art jewelry, often nature inspired, with beads, antique and new woven in free form and traditional stitches. It is an introspective and labor-intensive process worked with needle and thread, no glue. Giving a beautiful textural glass skin to broken, found, discarded objects is the key component in my work.
I don't like that the top right image doesn't seem to fit with the others.
Absolutely. He almost looks like a different artist.
It does.
I'm more interested in seeing that booth shot though.
Hmm.
Here again, you have pictures on the pedestals.
And a blank white wall.
And what's going on in these cases? I mean, how, particularly the one on the right-hand side? Oh, I guess the jewelry is on a neck form? Or something? I guess so, maybe. It's white on white. And then whatever's going on top of that right-hand case.
Earrings.
Yeah, I guess so. I was gonna say, it looks to me like my nail stylist placing all the bottles of nail polish, but
Yeah,
or sample size perfume or stuff. I can't figure out what's going on there, you know?
I'm not wild about this. No, that's a throwaway comment. This does not work for me as a juror for a good booth image.
Doesn't do justice to the work or consistent with the work or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right, next. My work is an exploration of natural and man-made patterns in concert with primordial forms. Did I pronounce that right?
Primordial.
Primordial
Yeah.
forms. Bronze, silver, copper, and nickel are hand pierced and overlaid into fine silver or sterling, is electro etched in relief, then hand formed into hollow shapes, interspersed with gold and silver elements.
okay, I know this person. I'm giving these disclaimers. I think this is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the booth to the work, you know, the work images are exquisite. She has told us how she does it. I still don't understand, but I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's true, Bonnie. I think she could tighten up this description a little bit.
Right.
Not that it's not good. I just think it could be tightened up a little.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And still get the point across, but she didn't talk about being inspired by the sun and the moon, so we're good, right? I mean, we can get to.
Yeah, that was a little borderline, the first sentence.
You know, we
But she
can't
pulls out of it with talking about technique, which is
Right. tighten it up a little bit. But other than that, it's beautiful,
yeah.
competitive.
Very competitive.
Yeah, and it's nice to see stuff that the artist has shot themselves.
Wow.
Why is there so many booths shot at an angle?
Because when the images are projected, the booth is the right-hand image. So you want to create a bookend so that forces the jurors to move their eyes back.
Mhm. To the left.
Plus, it's real hard to get the true feeling of a booth like this if you did it straight on, because you'd lose the one case
Mhm.
all, totally. It makes more sense. The booth makes more sense this way. And I have to say, I dearly love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, St. Louis, when Cindy was running it, Cindy called me once, and because I had always shot my booth shots at an angle, and she called me and said, I really would like this straight on. And then from then on, I've just all done it straight on. So when I see these booths at an angle, now maybe jewelry is different, maybe you have to do it like this, because I see what your point, and I agree with that. This is much nicer looking. But which is it? Is this good? If let's say if I
And,
took the shot at an angle, would that be a detriment? I want the best chance to actually get into events,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of competition.
and you only want to have one booth picture, not a
Yeah.
different one for each show.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, next. I'm a textile designer and artist originally from Zimbabwe with over 4 decades of design experience. Okay. I hand paint natural fabrics using different methods such as batik, shibori, and watercolor applications, and then sew them into shawls and women's tops. All of my creations are unique and one of a kind. No two are exactly alike. My designs and color combinations are inspired from my surroundings growing up in Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
individual images are very nice. I like that she has said, I'm assuming it's a she, that she hand paints them and then sews them. The booth image, I wish, other than the one that we saw, there are so few clothing booths that really stand out as being really good. Because what do you do with all these colors and fabrics and textures?
And sizes.
Yes. But I think they did a good job on the booth image.
Yeah,
It's nice and clean.
I think it's
Yep.
inviting.
Yep, I would walk in.
You want to go in there and you want to look at all the different patterns and all the different images. I wish
I
you would have
wonder-
left out, I'm from Zimbabwe. I don't care that you're from Zimbabwe. It's a little subtle thing, I think, that she's trying to portray herself as being diverse or whatever. You don't
Yeah,
have to
but
do
and she
that.
repeated it.
It's not, yeah, right. And it's not necessary. So I would take out that first sentence and the last sentence.
Well, I wouldn't, I would take out the first one, but I kind of like the last one.
The influence.
I think you could say the influence thing. You could be influenced by Zimbabwe pattern or design or something without making it mine experience. I'm inspired, or based on the art form of Zimbabwe, or something that's
Yeah,
gives that relevance to it, but not, I'm from there based on my inspiration at the time, you know, just because it is interesting that it's based on a Zimbabwe art form. I guess it's based on it, but does it have to be mine, you know?
I think it does. And if I can critique the second image, cut off the eyes.
Oh, yeah.
That was done in the other three images.
Mhm,
I like it better without eyes.
mhm.
I'm speaking generally.
Yeah.
Well done.
Okay, next. I use a variety of off-loom bead weaving techniques to create artisan jewelry focusing on color, shape, and texture. My materials are primary check glass, Swarovski crystals, and seed beads.
I'd like a different piece of jewelry on image number 2 because it's too teeny.
I would agree.
On a Zap monitor jury, they would be seeing the images one at a time, and
Right.
there wouldn't be the relationship like
That's
this.
true.
The individual images, though, are quite lovely.
Yes, they are.
And it shows diversity as well as cohesion.
Mhm. And it's clear that she's not making the beads, right? I mean, it's clearly stated that she's using check glass, crystal, and seed beads. I mean, so I'm good with that because I know that that's what she's doing, and weaving and all that. There's no pretense that she's making these, as you would see with a lamp bead or something.
Yeah, so it's assembled.
Mhm.
But the bead itself isn't the
Right,
main
right,
focus.
right,
Mhm.
The design.
right.
It's the color, it's the texture.
Mhm, mhm. I'm just saying it's clear that way, right? I'm focusing on the
Oh, yeah,
design,
no, I
texture,
agree
not
with you,
not the
Sharon.
bead. Bead's not the point.
I was disagreeing with Barry.
I would just ask the question. I didn't say anything about it. In this
Oh.
case, yes, I do not like assembled things, but in this case, she's taken it to a
Mhm.
very good level. You know, certainly beyond other people that just assemble things, put
And her-
it together.
And her booth is clear about who she is, and then that, and all the kinds of things she has, and then that becomes a show thing, you know, like,
Yeah.
I am not a big fan of assemblage.
Yeah.
Because so many people don't put it in their artist statement, whether they're making the
Right.
pieces or not. But this is totally different in my
Right
view.
here.
Good photography.
It is.
No commercials, Larry.
Okay. All right.
We'll let them
Next.
have one.
Oh, one, okay.
I fabricate my jewelry from upcycled silver plate trays that have been neglected by their owner and given to thrift stores. I saw the metal and use a torch to add a rich fire patina. Because the metal is brass with a thin layer of silver, it is unpredictable and the results are always exciting.
Now, that tells me what the person does.
Yeah.
And frankly, it makes the jewelry even more exciting.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
good photography, you know, good group of images. It's not mine. I'm not
Well,
plugging.
it is good photography.
It is. It is.
Booth looks fine. Yeah, I really like the artist statement, which you don't really say.
Cool.
Anybody else?
How come we're seeing mostly jewelry?
Because it's like any other show application.
All right.
There's no
Because
clay, there's no clay. There's no-
everybody is a jeweler, Barry. Don't you
Here we
know
go.
that?
Here we go, Barry.
Okay.
Illuminated sculpture, abstract expressionist paintings on fabric with mixed media on fiberglass, resin, and lit from within by remotely controlled LED lights. Sculptures are interplays of form, color, and colored lights and are interactive, changing with every light change and viewer angle.
Cool.
I'm just confused.
Need someone to unconfuse this booth image.
It's-
Yes.
Because this looks like an installation, like at someone's, I don't know, office or home. I don't know what the,
It almost looks like he shot it in his studio.
yeah, but if one could get a better
I know, it needs more of a.
booth
real
representation, I think
Right.
this would be really cool because the work is distinctly different than. What was it Barry saying before about let's make it as our art, not as just to sell it.
Yeah, some very interesting pieces.
Yeah. Just need to get the booth or the display better.
Hey, so what about these sculptors that actually put their stuff outside without a booth? And how do you, what do you see when you see their work, in images and their booth shot? How do they generally handle that?
They usually set up for a booth picture.
Mhm.
So they have a tent that they usually, that they don't really use, but for the booth shot, they set up a tent and
Right.
put the work inside. Okay.
Well, we get them that aren't that way, but they're set up outside the same way they would be at a show without a tent.
Uh-huh.
But they
Yes.
pay attention, they set up for the shot, so if they don't have the cherry blossoms and stuff in the background, they figure
Right.
out a shot where
Right.
the background's clean,
Uh-huh.
not fake, but clean, no
Right.
cars behind it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's outside. I mean, it's not in the tent. We get quite a few that way actually for the sculptors. Because they are no tent.
All right. Argentium, silver, sterling silver, and 14-karat gold-filled wire. Formed, fused, forged, woven, and finished by hand.
My comments are the same as other jewelers, right? You see all this nice at the top, and then the booth image to me then goes to what the show wants, because there are many shows who would say this is way too many carded earrings
It's nice.
compared to the more statement work. It's nicely displayed. I just think it becomes then a question of what the show rules are.
It makes it look a little more low end.
Right. And
And
that just goes to the show, right? And that goes to what,
Yes.
exactly,
who are you?
Yeah.
And that's not for us to say. It's displayed very nicely.
it is. And the individual image shots are
Uh-huh.
beautiful.
Yeah, I like the work.
Yep. Is that a chair in the booth?
It is.
I'm so impressed.
Okay.
Good.
Next. My work is all created using the ancient sculpting technique of chasing in repose,
repose.
repose, where the
Yes,
piece is hand sculpted freehand from a flat sheet of metal with only small blunt tools and a hammer.
well, just so you all know, this is tough work to do. It takes a long time to get good at it. And these pieces are lovely.
Is there a way then in the wording, Bonnie, to convey that rather than someone has to work at created with ancient sculpting techniques of chasing and however you pronounce this word, because somebody may say it wrong when they're reading. Is there a better way to get across the difficulty level or the sophistication level or talent level or something so that people get it?
I don't know. There must be some word or two that you can add in, but all jewelers are she's.
That's not true.
Well, but that's what I'm making it sound like.
Oh, okay.
Now I lost my train of thought. No, it's well stated for what she's saying, but I think she needs to give herself more credit for how difficult this is. Yeah,
You'd almost have to have a jeweler on the jury and make that comment, because you can't write that into this without appearing, I don't know, elitist or arrogant. I think
right.
Well,
it's hard to
that's
write that
true.
in there.
But
Every show should have a jeweler on the jury.
a street jeweler,
Mhm.
a street jeweler that knows buy, sell, that
Mhm.
knows,
Yeah,
when things are good, because jewelers can make some really glitzy pieces that are
Mhm.
really, like, really yucky,
Mhm.
but they glitz everyone, like a big fancy stone. Well, they didn't do the stone.
Mhm.
Look at the rest of it.
Right.
These are very, very nice.
Very nice.
All right, next. Artist uses vibrant acrylic paint on canvas to create hyper-realistic landscapes with moving skies.
I first thought that it was photography.
Right.
So, okay, if you're going to use a tablecloth, please
Yeah, I know.
get the kind without
And
wrinkles. But I give you props for putting the table in there.
Mhm.
Thank you. Booth looks good other than wrinkles. I like the grass.
Colors are great.
Yeah,
Mhm. And it's well balanced and clearly represents what it would appear the booth's going to be, with the pieces on the side and the smaller ones on the table. And I mean, like, that's probably what this booth looks like.
I would agree.
Barry?
Barry?
no, I don't know. I go along with with what you all say. I'm just wondering if I would like it, how it would look up close, and that's what I'm thinking.
Which, the booth?
The work itself.
Oh,
But that'll come to the jury score, I think. It's like
Yeah.
that comes out in the way that the jurors perceive the work versus us just perceiving the presentation.
Do you think the photo, the last image is a little small?
Mhm.
I mean, it fits in width-wise with everything else, but then it's kind of squished down. And when you look at the work in the booth, for instance, that image and the one next to it should be the same size.
Hmm.
If you
Yeah,
look in
but that person has other images, that same narrow composition.
Yeah,
But for the sake of the jury image, you could choose to be a little more balanced here. Just because it's distracting when there's such a variety, or put the two skinnies in the middle and the windmill on the end or something. Or it's easier to look at.
Or just
Yeah,
pick a different image than the last image,
That's possible too.
yeah.
which is
I-
very similar. That person has similar images in that
mhm.
bigger size.
the
Mhm.
interesting thing to me is that last image is kind of getting lost.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant, I guess.
And partly because of that black. Well, so is the third one over, because the bottom of those are both black gray. And they
Dark.
kind of dark,
Yeah,
and they go into the background of the projection, right? Rather than the first two, they don't part of them doesn't disappear into the background.
But with the third one, we know what it is.
Yeah.
There's no,
mhm,
you're not
mhm,
saying, well, what is this? The
Mhm.
fourth one, we're going, I'm going,
Mhm.
what is this? You know?
mhm.
very good.
All right, next. My hand-woven accessories reflect my love of fiber and the process of creating hand-woven fabric. I use multi-harness and rigid heddle looms to weave structure and design elements with a variety of different types of yarn. My intent is to make eye-catching and unique wearable items that will last a lifetime.
I think all the same comments we've made about some other statements of cleaning up the intent thing. And I think making this, only a weaver would know what the difference is between multi-harness and rigid heddle looms.
Right.
Versus just saying I use some other word, shorten this up. I weave it myself and I have looms, or it's too much detail that nobody knows what that means, unless you are a weaver and know what that means.
You know, I like the work in the images, and I kind of like the images themselves on the dummies. But if you compare this to the clothing that we really like, the most professional
Mhm.
images, these would stand out if you had a real model and put these on the model and displayed them. It shot them the way the other clothing was shot.
Mhm.
You know, you can do a better job.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
There's a trend to move away from models because the cost of a model and a style.
All it takes is getting into one show.
Yeah, Karen, you're talking about Karen's stuff.
Mhm.
A magazine paid for those photographs to be taken.
oh really?
But the
But-
price point's very different too, right? When you're doing,
Yeah,
not
one of her
presenting to
pieces.
jury, but
Right.
she is in a different place and world than this. And to me, this also, you take this this booth shot, the image at the top are wrap around and shaped and what have you. And then this booth shot has a whole bunch of rectangular scarves and on both sides, and whatever this is on the back on this table thing.
Well,
You know,
I think if they were to be put on a person, they would look like the images on the top row.
mhm. It just to me, it looks very, the booth shot brings down the work, I think.
yeah, the booth shot is
Yeah.
lacking.
Oh.
How the things are displayed, I think it's takes away.
Boring and
Yeah.
could be, not saying it is, could be production work. The way it's displayed, one could think, I wonder if this is production work.
Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah, but the artist statement says otherwise.
I know it does, but
I will say that the image number 4 doesn't really have the same vibe
Mhm.
as the other 3 images. I
Mm.
would replace that one.
I think you're talking about the casualness of the arrangement.
Maybe it's trying to show that there's varieties the way you can do it. I don't know.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
the bigger concern is the booth shot.
Yeah, that doesn't bother
Yes.
me that much. That it's different. It's not that much different than the other pieces.
Oh, but you're giving me more time to look at it than I get in a regular jury.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
true.
That's the kiss of death.
Yeah, if we were doing this at normal jury speed, we'd have a lot less comment.
Yes.
Okay, next. Nature-inspired, hand-forged precious metal jewelry embellished with textured gemstones and fossils.
I think on this one, like some of our other juries, I get it. I get it. I can score it.
Yeah,
I got I know what I think about the artwork itself. I know how it's displayed. I'm thinking, I got this. I know what I'm going to score.
mhm.
Yes. Do I need to mention the rug?
I was wondering if you would bring that up. I thought about that. I looked at it.
This
It's
is
the
curved like
first-
a display, right? But if it was beige, you'd be a little happier, but
I
It's
would take
the
it out
first thing
altogether.
that
Yeah.
my eye went to
yeah.
as it moved over to the booth image was the
Yeah.
rug.
Save it for the art show, right?
I think if you're gonna do
Yes.
rugs, make it one color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't make it patterns.
Right.
It's hard
Yeah.
on the eye.
My eyes go to the 2 light-colored busts first.
Mm-hmm. But
That
they're well
too, but
positioned, and the wood ones are well positioned, and you got a nice balance going on here, and
Yeah,
I think it's a nice quick score, which is really when you get in the jury room, that's what you need, nice, clear, easy to decide.
You're not leaving the jurors with all kinds of questions in their head, and you're making their life very easy.
And when you're sitting in jewelry category, it needs to be easy because, in our case, 180 later, like,
Oh,
enough already with the jewelry.
That's right.
I love
right.
jewelry, but by the end, yeah.
Yeah, right.
okay. Next. Power and hand tools are used with 4 lathes to create the work. Most are traditional, some with lasers to enhance accuracy. Finishes are hand applied. Each of the mills is signed, dated, and the wood used is identified. And a number assigned that relates to a database with a photo, as each of the mills is guaranteed.
Okay, cool. I think the images are great, but the booth is a little, I'm assuming undervaluing the work.
Perceived value.
I have a
Pardon me?
feeling that this person set up the booth shot for a certain look, because if it's who I think it is, this person was next to me at a show not too long ago, and the booth did not look like this. The booth looked a lot nicer than this.
Mhm.
So I don't like the way the
Mhm.
booth is portrayed, the
Mhm.
work on the booth, but so if he's like listening or watching this, shoot your actual booth.
Mhm.
Don't make it look like this.
I think this is the actual booth. Otherwise, the red tablecloth wouldn't be there,
Mm. And the rug.
and the rug.
Thanks,
Mm.
Sharon.
You're welcome. I'm a slow learner, but I got it now, and the rug's fine.
Yeah, the other thing is the pictures on the back wall. The product is so small within the whole picture.
Yeah, just show the work.
So the hands and the,
Right.
Mhm. Oh,
Okay, next. Architecture and nature surroundings inspire my work. I fuse 18 karat gold to Argentinium silver and add gemstones using techniques of fusing, forging, and forming to fabricate one-of-a-kind jewelry. A red ruby is incorporated to remind us of our inner strength.
Don't use as your jury image a piece with a bezel that's all chopped up and wonky.
Mhm.
Because there will be a jeweler on the jury that will notice that and ding you.
Well, and I mean, the booth shot, it was done at a show. There's another booth in the background. I mean, we've already given a lot of this input on the others, but I mean, yeah.
What do
There's
you
too
think
much
of the
competition for
abstracta
this.
booth?
The what?
Abstracta booth. Abstracta is those rods that are all that put together. What do people
have a-
think of the booth?
Do you have a problem with abstracta?
No,
No.
because I used it for years.
Okay,
That red cooler is in the booth behind them.
Yeah,
they really need to drop their, at least the two
Mhm.
The
sides.
problem with that is this is the canopy that zips in the middle of the walls.
Oh, yeah,
Those are terrible for art shows. Because then you're
Plus-
stuck with all of that gathering in each corner.
plus the sign has the person, doesn't that have a person's name or
Well-
the whatever? That would not be good.
And even if this is a problematic canopy, Larry, for the sake of the booth shot, this all needs to go down and get turned around square on and get rid of the other booth on the other side. And I mean, like,
Right.
there's so much, but I think so much of the other commentary and other booths applies to this, and it just,
Can you go back to the work again? I want to look at that for a second. Mm,
you know what I'm finding so interesting is that we're spending so much time on the booth images.
Yeah,
Most of the work images are really nice.
yeah,
I am
there.
yeah.
very impressed.
Hey, and when I judge a show, that's always the booth is shot is always the problem.
Yep. It's always what brings down the score, right?
Yeah,
Booth images don't usually up the score, but they bring them down. My experience.
when they bring them up, it's due to something like showing scale. It
Mhm.
looks like that pot is, like 6 inches tall, and in the booth image, you discover that it's actually 3 feet tall,
Right, that's
things
true,
like that.
right.
But otherwise, it can kill. It
Yep.
can kill a good score.
What happened to my picture? Did anybody else lose the share?
No,
No.
I don't know.
Lose what?
The share image? No?
Do you want me to stop it and start it again?
No, go ahead. That's fine.
Can you see them?
No, all of a sudden my share window went away. Go ahead. Oh, there, I got it back now. Sorry.
Okay, next. And while you're looking at this, I gotta do something with my little puppy here. Photographic prints with pigment inks on fiber paper, torn edges, float mounted in hardwood frames, then varnished.
So I love the back wall
Yeah,
of the booth. And the booth shot overall is lovely.
yeah.
Image
It's
number
clean.
3 just should not be in this
I agree.
grouping. Anybody else?
I agree with you.
Okay,
I like I like the detail of the first two images. I like how they've taken the photography and taken it somewhere else. They push the medium.
yeah. Did we lose Sharon?
No, I'm here. I was just talking to my husband about starting dinner.
Oh,
I turned my mic back on now, but you might hear a little bit of noise in the background.
so Sharon, what's your thinking?
Oh, sorry. I think presentation wise, I'm fine. It's not as cohesive as I might like, but it's hard.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into the artwork, if he or she shoots this variety and that's what's in the tent and that's what's I'm starting in general to have a in my head discussion about whether shows by rules are forcing artists to be more conforming and less creative. I mean, this is all going on in my head, which has nothing to do with this. So presentation wise, I think he's good. She, whoever.
Okay,
I think
I'm
you're
gonna,
right. Shows are forcing the artist into conforming more.
And I think that's a good discussion for another day about what's
Yes.
happening there, because I just keep hearing more about that and seeing more about that. And I was in one conversation Stephen King was in, and his comment about, I'm so sick of seeing the same images every year, which is like
Yes.
a conforming thing, maybe, right? So, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah, and I would have taken out the two images on the right and had two that were closer
Mhm,
to the other two.
in subject.
mhm.
More
Okay.
technique.
Okay,
I don't
I'm
think
gonna go to the next one, because it's the same
Hmm.
person.
Mm. So my comment about this one is the other one is way better. This thing of
Yes.
showing the frames and putting background behind and wasting your 19 by 20 space with all that other stuff is just, give us those images on the other one. The score is going to be way better.
What
Yeah.
about the torn edges?
I don't care about those.
Yeah, I don't care.
I have to, I agree with Sharon. This is a waste of a jury fee.
Yep.
When you've got the other
Mhm.
images. Even though
And
I
then-
do like the triptych.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. But that turns out to be a triptych instead of one piece. But you see that in his tent, though. Yeah, and if she shows up with torn edges and this kind of mount instead of wrapped, oh, it's not going to, because you can see in the tent that it's that way and has a float frame, and some of them are wrapped. But I think by far the first batch is going to score better.
I agree.
Okay, he got his money's worth.
At least in our opinion, right?
Right. Okay. My sterling silver
Mhm.
jewelry is made using techniques such as cuttlebone, broom, and found object casting that yield one-off unique pieces. The incorporation of gemstones and gold accents further increases their individuality.
I think the images that are shot at the top are fine. I mean, I guess I'd be happier if the backgrounds were more consistent and it didn't have this one with all white. It's, like I said, in the case of a projected jury, it's gonna be blinding. And then it's gonna be, again, down to the show, I think. This is a case where the booth image is really revealing. And it's like, is this, it just totally depends on the show then. Yeah, the booth image could be cropped and straightened up and things like that, but the score is going to depend on the show. What level it shows at, whether or not all that carded earring stuff and small pieces is going to fly compared to the images. I mean, that's just a show thing.
And all the neck forms.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the blue tablecloth?
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I mean, it would work if the blue had more accent in the tent itself, like blue curtains.
Mhm.
But
There's some
by,
of those other jewelers that have nice curtain backs. On the other hand, I know I got quite a bit of commentary, and whatever call I was on, maybe it was Larry's, I don't remember, that if the artist is going to work on the booth shot, to me, there's things that come before that blue tablecloth. And that if they go and do some things, they get the other stuff fixed. You know, that when does it become, they start to feel like it's more important what color the tablecloth is versus cropping this tent, and is this a show that's going to go for this kind of display or not? Back to many images ago when Barry said checking out the show. Being
Yeah.
careful about confusing them about what's important.
You can do little tweaks to your booth over time. And that's how most of us have done it.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
you change the blue tablecloth to something else, you do something different with the carded earrings,
Mhm.
you put bigger pictures in your booth.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's lots of things you can do. So we're not saying you have to do everything
Mhm.
right this minute, but be aware that this is our opinion
Mhm.
and
Well-
do things as you can.
Sort of, because taking the blue, does the blue enhance the work that's on it, or does it take away from it? And that's actually, that's a big thing. And I don't think that it works. I think it takes away from the work, because, and there is a relationship, you know.
Well, and Sharon said, there's nothing else, I think it was Sharon, there's nothing else blue, so there's nothing to tie it in.
I said that.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Larry.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me. What would bother me is if it detracted from the work itself. You just want to be able, whatever you're using, you want to enhance the work.
Mhm.
And you're going to see it because color theory, Joseph Albers,
Right.
color is important. You can distort an image by what you use with color. And I don't like that blue at all. So
All right, next. I'm largely an encaustic artist who regularly uses found and recycled objects. The ephemera I use helps to tell the story in a new way. I paint with beeswax. Every layer is fired with a torch.
So let's put the last two sentences first. Yeah, I don't know what encaustic means, sorry.
It's the use of beeswax.
Ah, who knew?
I don't know that I'm right,
it seems to be popular.
but that's what I think of. Because artists talk about it at really hot shows, pieces melting in their hand.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
But the work looks nice.
Booth
Well,
looks
better
good.
understanding of what it is, though, would help. A little less jargon and understanding, and the image on the right. Maybe pick something else here from this group in the tent and even up these colors so the one on the, or sizes so the one on the right doesn't like fall off the page.
Yeah.
Mhm.
but pretty good.
Well shot and clean booth.
Yep,
Yes,
Yep, nice balance and everything.
love the grass.
Mhm.
All right. Glass is hand cut, wrapped in copper foil, soldered, rolled edges, glass layered, heavy soldering for texture, chemical reaction, turns solder into a copper or black patina.
If we're looking at the presentation, I mean, the booth's nice and clean and except whatever these white things are, is this inserted or what? Or, oh, maybe it's a 2-level shelving unit.
Oh, yeah, it's
Okay.
2 levels.
Yeah, what's that?
And their cash and wrap is probably behind it. What's
Mhm,
with the
mhm.
buckets
They're
Probably
probably
weights.
weights.
on the inside?
Yeah, I
Well,
should put those outside, wouldn't it?
not if you're up against another booth.
Yeah, but this is
Very
the booth, but this is the booth shot for their jury image.
Right.
I
If
would
I could just remove those.
cross my fingers and take out the buckets,
Mhm,
take the shot, put the buckets right back in.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, the booth shot looks just fine. Those, okay, other
Yeah,
than those
yeah.
buckets.
Mhm.
And those are banners.
They're what?
Oh. But there's lights underneath it that makes it look like a shelving unit.
Now, in the middle is a shelving unit, but above and below that, it looks like they're banners.
Oh. Yeah, maybe.
You think?
But, you know, presentation wise, which is really the point here.
No, I think those are, that's work.
No, it's the same. It's a picture of the same
Oh.
piece. That's the number 2 piece.
Oh, that, oh, yeah. Well, I would take those
Oops.
pictures out.
Mhm.
Yeah, if I blow it up anymore,
It's in the way.
Yeah.
it looks
Those
like it's
pictures?
It's
well,
look like,
oh, maybe no, it's a shelf unit with a
Mhm.
white sheet there.
yes,
But so this is the example, but for whoever's listening, is that we're having all this conversation about it.
Well,
Which,
that,
we
you
should,
know, which we shouldn't be having conversation. I mean, it's like, it should be more clear than that. So
Right.
to take away that
Yeah.
it's causing conversation.
you have the lights. And then whatever's above that is actually probably hiding the, you know, the hardware. Yeah.
But
So
you don't want,
it looks
in the
as
jury,
if-
in the juries where the jurors talk, you don't want the jurors busy talking about this. You want them talking about, well, what do you think about the work here and that the way they do the copper and the welding and, you know, not
Yeah.
confusion
Right.
about the intent. And for those who don't talk and just go by 8-10 seconds, you don't want them busy thinking about that. You want them looking at the work.
Okay. Thousands of glass seed beads individually woven and stitched in combination with gemstones and other materials, unified by focus on color, texture, and form.
well, these are nice.
Yeah, this is a good example of beadwork that I would actually
Mhm,
like. And the display's nice too.
mhm.
Yeah, the entire presentation is really nice.
It's another one of those, you know what it is, you know what the description is, you know, has displayed, score next, you know,
Yep.
no conversation needed. I mean, just like in your head or otherwise, it's like, I got it.
And there's one little panel of carded earrings for
Mhm.
Karen. And that's it. I mean, it's not all junked up.
Mhm. And then it gives the opportunity for the shows who match this up that, okay, she does have carded earrings. I got that in the image. We have that. There's one. There's not 10. So
Right.
when we show up at the
Mhm.
tent and there's, 5 or 10, yeah, that image from the jury is 1. And that was fine, but this 8 or 10, that's not fine. If that were the case, I'm not saying she would do that, but if that were the case, it's very clear
Right.
what's happening.
These are just really pretty.
Yeah, they are pretty.
Okay.
2 thumbs up.
Mhm.
Applying thick, colorful oils textured with brush strokes and fibers on my black and white photographs that evolve from free-form design perspective, vibrant colors and shapes discovered in the details.
So this is a painter on top of a photograph, is that right?
Hand-colored black and white photographs. That's what I would assume. Yeah, it
Applied as a
says that.
painter.
No. It's a traditional photography technique.
Thank you.
Norm Darwish, remember?
Yep, okay. I was confused in the way it was written, so.
Well, for good reason. It's kind of written clunky. Well, I will say on the booth image, you're leaving a lot of real estate.
Mhm.
Not that you have to jam your booth full, but that's expensive real estate that you are not using. And it makes me
Mhm.
very suspect because I don't know of any artist that isn't going to use
Mhm.
the real estate that they're given.
Unless they took that at a show and that's how they set up.
Yep, but I would be suspect of that, and you don't want me suspect.
Mhm.
I would arrange it differently. I'm not a fan of using all this real estate, using all the space. I'd like them to be individual and that you can see each one without seeing too much,
Mhm.
for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
So you call it using the real estate, and I say, that's having too much work is a distraction.
But
I
you
would
could spread this out, right? You could take this
Exactly.
knowledge,
Yeah.
spread it out so you stand out individually, same amount
Okay.
of work, it just uses that negative space out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I guess that's what I mean by
And
utilizing rearranging things.
yeah,
And
actually, those
that's
2
what I would
white
do.
holes in the corners should be cropped out,
Mhm.
and then that will enlarge the booth picture.
Well, I don't recommend necessarily shoving more work in there, but rearranging it and putting more space between them, as Barry said.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes. Display it like it would be displayed in somebody's house.
Mhm.
They
Yes,
wouldn't have like a gazillion photographs all next to each other. Isolate like the one, like the 3 that we're looking at straight on. You could take the other 2 out and just have that one piece in the middle, and that would be maybe make it more dramatic. You might sell more of it. But the other thing is you could try different things, and whatever worked is what you do.
Okay.
All right, next. Polymer clay is a chameleon material, lightweight and tactile. It's a delight to wear. As an artist, I am endlessly fascinated by its inherent versatility, carving, sculpting, screening, shaping, inclusions. All manner of manipulation and fine detail is possible with this strong, flexible medium.
Same thing, tell me how you do it, right? And I would crop these jewelry pieces and get them bigger.
Yep.
Get rid of this background, like the earrings could be, I don't know, can't do the math, double the size. By
Yeah.
the time you
Yes.
crop, triple the size, I mean, quite a bit bigger.
Yeah.
Both necklaces, but particularly one on the left, could have part of the chain cut off so you can get it bigger and square. I mean, all of them could be bigger. and use up that space better. And then there's the tablecloth and
Yeah,
and back to it's all about the show, right? Some shows that's going to be a great display and some shows not.
yeah, it's not making my heart go pitter patter.
Mhm.
No,
The
There's some
display,
shows that would, you know.
Oh. but the display is kind of dated.
Mhm. Need some pizzazz here.
Yeah. And I'm not exactly sure what it would take, because
Mhm.
if it would take, a splash of red, they're ahead of us there.
Mhm.
I don't know. It just doesn't scream out at me, I want you in my show.
Mhm. Mhm. And yet the fact that it's polymer clay gives the show another medium, if you were, right? Because they could have glitzy artists, they could have silver like yours, they could have glass bead, they could have woven seed bead. So when you're looking for variety of jewelry, polymer clay is a nice choice.
Exactly.
Having another type of jewelry. So, because you don't want all the same kind of jewelry. So that's an advantage. Just need to have some pizzazz to sell the great aspects of polymer clay.
Yeah, I love what people do with polymer
Mhm.
clay.
Mhm.
My brain doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
All right. Next. Fluid acrylics are mixed and poured in multiple layers. Various tools are used to move the fluid paint. Inspiration comes from sugar white sand and emerald green waters along the Gulf Coast.
Getting redundant, right? Lose the last sentence.
Well, we don't care about inspiration. We want to know how
Right,
it does
exactly.
it.
Lose the last sentence. And Bonnie's going to say lose the rug.
You bet.
well, true. Another example.
Yeah, and actually crop down the top
Crop down.
and at the bottom.
The interior of the tent looks pretty good. I mean, placement
Yes.
wise and all that, and the table or whatever display in the back. But yeah, crop the top, crop the bottom, get rid of the rug.
Yeah,
But paintings are nice.
Yeah, nicely shot.
Barry?
The images are fine. The booth is clean.
All right, next. Hand sculpted from stoneware clay using slab, coil, and extrusion methods. Fired in anagama wood kiln.
Anagama. It's an anagama wood kiln.
Good, Barry. An anagama wood kiln for 36 hours to create one-of-a-kind ceramic sculptures and vessels. And they didn't have a booth picture.
I think they're onto something with the robots.
Oh, absolutely.
Those are just fun. Yeah.
They're really cool.
It's interesting. Usually, when you do the anagama kiln, that goes way back. It's an Asian thing, and there actually it's a series of chambers. You might have 7 chambers, and the first one fires, and it's on a hill, and it goes up the hill, and so the first one gets fired off, and then you move up, and then heat rises, so it's warms the next level and then the next level, and you usually it's done like a big group of people doing it because it's hard to stay up 36 hours, and it could be a week even if it's big enough. What's interesting is that it's usually functional pieces or or thrown pieces. It's not sculptural. So this is kind of interesting that they did their work and ended up firing it in an amagama kiln.
But would it be
Probably-
more interesting then, Barry, if I don't know any of that, right? So what you just said would be
Yeah.
more interesting for the juror to have a little piece of what you just said, rather than just this wood kiln, because what do I know that does that for 36 hours? Sort of interesting that normally used for functional, but I'm using it for sculpture, like,
It would be hard to explain that in a, in a statement, because there's a lot that, it involves a lot. It's just,
Knowledgeable juror.
yeah,
and
that, but
Yes.
you don't always have that advantage,
And I don't think they're glazed either. Usually the wood, the burnt wood, the ash from the wood actually creates the color in the pieces. This does have color, so I'm pretty sure that there is some sort of glaze on it, at least on some of the pieces. Interesting.
That's interesting too, to be able to, depending on what's true about that portion for this artist, about maybe there's no glaze, and that's interesting. All this is created by the kiln
Well,
process.
some of it is. There is
Or
some
you say
glaze.
I've created some and some not some, so it's a little more understanding of how cool this actually is.
Like the first piece on the left. I don't
Mhm.
think that has any glaze on it, at least not the top part. And that's what it would look like if you just fired the piece and the firing creates the glaze.
Morning.
Okay,
Whereas the third one's definitely glazed. And I think the face with the teeth,
Mhm.
yeah.
I want the third one in my house.
Mhm.
Well,
But then there's an issue of lack of booth image, and that's going to go to what the show's willing to do.
I
Yeah.
think they had a booth image, but it's not the new work at all.
But
And
it
this,
still goes to what the show's willing to do if you submit it that way, right? I mean,
right,
this is the new work.
yes.
They're on a very good path.
yeah, very nice.
I'm very impressed.
It's a lot of work. Just the feeding the kiln every 15 minutes with wood that you've chopped up, is enough work alone. Let alone.
I've hung out at Mike Taylor's wood
Oh
kiln
yeah.
firing, and it's so much fun, but it's a lot of work.
All right, I'm gonna move on. I design and fabricate sterling silver jewelry using lamp-worked glass beads that I also make by hand. I do not use any molds for the glass or silver work. Each piece is unique.
Great work, great images, and I always love this person's displays,
Mhm.
and I like
He-
this one too. I like this one too.
She has had the best displays
I
over
agree.
the years. She's constantly tweaking it
Yeah,
and changing it and making it better, making it different. The work, it's hers. Okay, she's a friend. But it's her work. You would recognize it anywhere. It's always clean. This is beautiful. The only thing I would say is there a way to darken the booth image?
Yes,
Just a little. It's a
Yeah.
little jarring.
and
yeah, but
also
her
a little
booth,
bit
her
better
booth is always
cropping.
it's always really bright like this.
Yep, it's always clean, always bright.
And
Better-
Larry, when you say cropping, you're talking about the artwork images,
Yes, they could all appear a little bit larger.
a little bit bigger.
It's really nice to see this level of work.
Mhm.
All right,
And by the way, I will not, even if you are my very best friend, if your images look like crap, I
Yeah,
will tell you,
me too.
because it doesn't do you any good at all for me to kiss up and say, oh, isn't this the most beautiful work?
Hey,
When it's not.
I was
Do
gonna
you-
say that for artists who are listening, you know, that some of it's blunt, right? I mean, it's all meant to help you be better, not us just being critical, right? It's really meant to help everybody improve.
Hey,
Sometimes it's hard to listen to, right? But that's the goal.
yeah. Hey, will you blow up the booth images for like 10 seconds? I want to. Okay.
You want it bigger?
No, I got the idea. This is a friend of ours, and she actually said to me that she thought that we would blast the display, but I think the display's fine.
Yeah,
It goes with the work,
Yeah,
it's
and
perfect with the work.
right? And even though I'm the one who always talks about carded earrings, this is her work though. When you go back and look at her work, she does this kind of work, and earrings are a big part of her thing. It's not like she's doing statement jewelry and then throwing in lots of cards, right? That's a different
Right.
thing. Then this is her work. This goes with her work. So I wouldn't say what's with the card, because it's her work. I would never say that.
Yep.
All right. Next. I weave and wrap gold-filled sterling silver and copper wire, creating unique jewelry pieces inspired by nature, like the curling grapevines framing a cluster of grapes. I weave my wires to capture natural gemstones, pearls, and shells, forming works of art and jewelry.
I know. Who knew? Yeah, well, I'm committed to doing this. I can't just disappear.
There's only one more after this.
Hmm.
Comments?
I don't like the artist's statement. After hearing it and then reading it myself, like the curling grapevines framing a cluster of grapes. So then I go back and I look at all 4 images to see which one they're referring to that looks like grapes and grapevines. So yeah, I'm not big on that. Display looks just fine.
Yeah.
Clean.
What do you
Balance.
people think about the images? The pieces are lit, but it's black
Well,
background.
they photographed it on black.
I know, but what do you think
But-
of that?
Well, that's fine. I wish they had done the first picture like that too.
I like it on the black.
Yeah,
I
so do
think
I.
The wire work really pops out.
Mhm. A gradient, you would kind of lose that. You would
Yeah.
lose that wire work if that was on a gradient background.
Yes,
I brought it up because you usually don't see this like this, and it's so in some sense they're taking a chance, but it's good.
Mhm.
It shows you don't have to have gradient,
Right.
backgrounds.
oh. Very nice.
Okay, next. Contemporary painted and kiln-fired stained glass that includes glass leaf strands, sculptures, layered window and wall panels. Pieces also incorporate natural elements such as stones, driftwood, and wire.
Oh.
And the other statement is her under 100 character statement.
Can we see the booth, Larry?
Yeah,
Oh, in case anybody's wondering, we can, as jurors on Zap, we can blow up the booth shot
Mhm.
to see it closer and the individual images.
Mhm.
So it's not we're not being overly critical by blowing it up here because you can do it during the jury.
I think they finally connected the images to the 1920s that were actually uploaded. So when you blow it up, you're seeing the original full size that was
Wow.
uploaded.
Can we go back to the
Mhm.
images again? So all these hanging things on the back wall and
Yeah,
the side rack, what are those?
Mhm.
strands, she calls them.
Like
But they're-
strands of glass?
Yes,
But they're not in the regular images.
yeah, they are the second and third image. The second
What?
one is the strand shot from above, looking
Okay.
down. And the third image
Oh.
is the strand on the left and two details of it on the right.
No, that's totally different than
Mhm.
the ones on the back.
The ones on the back look like they're crosswise pieces of glass strung on
On wires.
something,
Yeah,
as opposed to the solid look that's right above the table.
right.
That or it's just much clearer glass. Hard to know.
Yeah.
The one on that rack on the front to me looks like giant earrings. I'm sure it's not. I'm just,
Well, they do look like giant ears.
I mean, so again, it's back to having this conversation rather than looking at the work. So I think the work could be pretty cool and different. It's just hard to understand what's happening.
That's nice to see someone do something different.
Right, right. So you don't want them to lose out because of that, right? I mean,
Because of questioning, yeah.
right, right.
I'd have more continuity between the images.
Mhm.
I think they're all different when, like one of each thing, as opposed to getting an idea of this person's style of work by having similar pieces.
Dilemma.
Real nice.
Okay,
Okay,
we're going to stop recording.